The Rolex Sports Car Series rocked the new year in January with the Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Here, Will Barbosa get ready.
Everything is still up in the air.
Woo! This is great racing.
When the checkered flag waved, a familiar Daytona prototype parked in victory lane. Juan Pablo Montoya brings their BMW Riley to victory at the Rolex 24 again.
Good job, guys.
Audi scored their maiden GT class win with a fantastic 1-2 sweep. And Porsche claimed the inaugural victory in the new GX class. For those deprived of the taste of champagne in Daytona, it's time to head west, where a new track offers new hope of victory. The Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas is home to the Formula One U.S. Grand Prix. Today, the Rolex stars and cars will vie for the honor of being the first Grand Am winners at America's newest road racing destination. Round 2 of the Rolex Sports Car season begins now on Speed. It's a cool, breezy South Texas day in Austin, and just outside the city limits, the awesome new Circuit of the Americas is playing host to tens of thousands of race fans enjoying a terrific band right now, and why not? Austin bills itself as the live music capital of the world. But we are here for racing, specifically round 2 of the Grand American Rolex Sports Car Series from the Circuit of the Americas. It's called the Grand Am of the Americas, presented by Gainsco and Total. From the announce booth high above start finish, we welcome you all. I'm Bob Varsha with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader. Last November, Formula One brought this terrific racetrack onto the world stage, and the drivers unanimously praised the racetrack. Calvin, I think it's fair to say the Rolex Sports Car Series drivers think it's every bit as cool.
They're really excited to be here, as are we, Bob, and it's a very challenging, very technical racetrack. And over the last couple of days, the drivers have certainly found their way around this race circuit, but now they need to learn how to race here. There's wide open areas down into some of these corners, up into turn 1, down into turn 11. It's very tempting to make an overtaking maneuver, but can you pull it off? Then when you look at the configuration of the racetrack, 20 turns, but 2 very long straightaways, I think a lot of the Daytona prototypes have had to trim out some of that downforce to make sure they're not a sitting duck on these straightaways here today, Dors.
Yeah, remember, though, there's 3 classes racing here, and the GT cars can't do a lot of trimming of downforce. In other words, they run around here on the edge. You're up on top of the springs dancing. The Daytona prototype guys have got to give them a little bit of room, otherwise there'll be trouble.
Now, adding some energy to the mix is the fact that it's been more than a month since these drivers were on track. That, of course, was the immortal Rolex 24 at Daytona. And as usual, the Rolex 24 provided storylines for the rest of the season beginning this weekend in Austin.
When the Ganassi cars go flat out, they're a second a lap faster than us.
This year they have a bit of an advantage on us.
We can't match the power difference. Do you have the speed?
I don't think so. We don't have any more speed.
Following a dominant win from pole at Daytona, there was no question that the 01 from Ganassi Racing was the car to beat. But following post-Rolex 24 performance adjustments, will BMW continue to be fast? Meanwhile, the BMW-powered Team Salins also had a great run at the Rolex, with Dane Cameron running second early on. They're fired up about their chances in Austin.
The highest finishing Chevy Corvette was the number 10 Velocity Worldwide entry, which led late, but unfortunately for Wayne Taylor, had to make a late race stop for fuel and finish second. Max Angelelli and Jordan Taylor are hoping for one place better today.
And the highest finishing Ford was the number 60 Michael Shank Racing entry, which was the story of the race, coming back from a 7-lap deficit to finish third. Afterwards, however, his team lost its points and prize money when the engine was deemed to be non-compliant.
What a difference a year makes for Mike Shank Racing. Just 1 year ago, they were trying to get the champagne out of their driver suits after celebrating victory at the Rolex 24. This year, they're trying to lick their wounds after losing their points and prize money after their Ford power plant was deemed to not be in compliance after the Rolex 24. Look, teams, manufacturers, they'll do anything that they can to find an edge, and perhaps Ford went too far at the Rolex 24, and it cost Mike Shank Racing dearly. But for the rest of the season, Mike Shank will have 2 cars. The 6 will join the 60. Antonio Pizzonia, former Formula One driver, and Gustavo Jacquemin, former Indy Lights driver, will pilot the 6 for the rest of the season. 2 cars gives them extra data, extra information, and perhaps extra speed. The 6 car, in fact, the highest qualifying Ford Daytona prototype this weekend here in Austin. For more on Daytona prototypes, let's go to Chris Neville.
And Brian, that qualifying session yesterday was absolutely gripping. 1 second, it was Jordan Taylor at the top of the pole. The next second, it was Memo Rojas. But at the end of the session, it was John Fogerty coming away with the pole for this Texas-based Gainesco team. And this team, they've got a knack for getting poles at these inaugural events. Last year, John Fogerty did it at both Detroit and Indianapolis. But this team, thinking they've got the car to win today. I just spoke with Alex Gurney, and he said we've got a very fast race car, but looking at the data, he said the competition on the 01 car is going to be very tough. But this team hoping that they can get their team owner, Bob Stallings, a win today in his home state. Bob?
Good luck to the whole Gainesco team. The house car today here at Circuit of the Americas. Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is presented by Rolex. Brought to you in part by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. There's a look at the beautiful Dragon Tower above the Music Amphitheater, designed by Miro Rivera Architects right here in Austin. Time to start deciding the Rolex Sports Car Series championships for 2013. Now that the Rolex 24 is behind us, we've talked about the Daytona prototype class, GT and GX, along with the green flag coming up. Back at the Circuit of the Americas, where the field of 35 cars is about to roll off for the Grand Dam of the Americas here on Speed. That field includes 16 Daytona prototypes, the most we've seen anywhere but the Rolex 24 at Daytona since the 2009 Rolex Series finale at Homestead Miami Speedway in South Florida. But enough about the Daytona prototypes. Some of the best racing we see comes in the GT classes, and here's more on that. Today's GT class race will see Ferraris, Porsches, BMWs, as well as a Corvette, a Camaro, and an Audi. The top finishing non-Audi at the Rolex 24 was the number 69 Ferrari, today driven by Anthony Lazzaro and defending GT champ Emil Asentado.
The team with the most entries here at Circuit of the Americas is Texas-based Park Place Motorsports with 3, led by Porsche factory driver Patrick Long.
And in GX, the top finishing non-Porsche at the Rolex 24 was the number 70 Mazda Skyactiv Diesel, which encountered mechanical problems and placed 4th in class. Mazda will be looking for better results here today.
Well, the GX class was introduced to the Rolex Sports Car Series in 2013 to give manufacturers an opportunity to showcase new technology, and Mazda jumped on board. They wanted to showcase their Skyactiv diesel technology. Now, obviously, Daytona did not go the way that Mazda wanted it to, but remember, when the rotary came into road racing, it was not successful in the beginning, and it has had quite the storied past in road racing. We expect the same thing out of this Skyactiv diesel technology. In fact, the part that failed on all 3 entries for Mazda at the Rolex 24 was not a Mazda part at all, but an aftermarket racing part. So they've got high hopes and great expectations for the remainder of the season. Porsche won the Rolex 24 at Daytona in the GX category, and there is a Porsche on pole here in GX at Austin. It's the 38 from BGB Racing. Now, Mazda not the only ones with problems at Daytona. Other teams had it as well, but some teams had a great finish, like in GT, the 69 from AIM FXDD, their Ferrari. But not going so well here when they came to Austin. Emil Asentado behind the wheel of what they had termed was a loose car all weekend long in practice, and that loose car bit Asentado in the last practice session before qualifying. Contact with the wall, significant damage to the right rear, but that team AIM FXDD group worked all night long until 3 o'clock in the morning, got that car ready. It will be back out in action today, and they'll see if they can move to the front. That is not the only Ferrari in the field. For more, let's move to Chris Neville.
Well, Brian, the GT story at the Rolex 24 was definitely that closing battle between the two Audis. But yesterday in qualifying, it was the Ferraris that flexed the muscle. And it was Max Pappas that got squeezed to the outside of the front row by Alessandro Balzan. But when you look behind those two Ferraris, it's all about diversity in this class. We've got Andrew Davis in the 59 Brumos Porsche. And then we've got some American muscle, the Camaro, the Stevenson Camaro of a very sick John Edwards in that car. And then Boris Said in a Corvette right next to him. But also, keep an eye on that APR Audi. That car had mechanical problems in qualifying. It should be very fast in the race.
All right, thanks very much, guys. Now let's take a closer look at this 3.4-mile, 20-turn racetrack from deep space. Dorsey?
The Circuit of the Americas is in the great state of Texas. We'll drop down here for a look at that, if you will. Just outside of Austin city limits, you see Fort Worth, Houston there. We come down into one of the most beautiful racetracks in the entire world. Circuit of the Americas, 3.41 miles, 20 fantastic turns we will race on today.
Now let's take an even closer look. We'll go on board with Enzo Podolico and then number 3, 8-star Motorsports Corvette DP. About 150 miles an hour, climbing the hill, over 130 feet of elevation change up into turn 1. There's like a tabletop there at the top. Got to be very careful with your turning point. Then plowing back down through the hill, up through the gears, up into 4th gear, about 117 here, Dorsey. It's a high downforce section of the racetrack.
Down through the S's. This is where all the trouble has been. It's very, very narrow. One-lane racetrack. If you drop 4 wheels across the curbs, you'll get a penalty.
Really high-speed turns, fast change of direction. It really loads those Continental tires coming through here. Then at the very end of the S's, which seem to go on forever, it does start to tighten up right here. Slowing it down to about 70 miles an hour here. Then really critical to get a good exit here down through this kink.
You'll run up to 146 miles per hour down this straightaway into a braking zone, which is a good passing zone, and the first hairpin down to 41 miles per hour.
Slamming it down through the gears, then the gears, good traction off. You can't afford to use those curbs. That unsettles it. Then this long, long straightaway, Dorsey punching through the gears once again.
Late in the afternoon, you see that sun right in your eyes. You're 162 miles per hour as you approach turn 12 down here to some more hard braking and good passing place.
Hard on the brakes, down into 1st gear, about 45 miles an hour through apex. Very technical section here, some low-speed corners, some right-handers coming up. Just got to keep it clean through here, nice and neat and tidy.
Slowest part of the racetrack, 44 miles per hour, no downforce here whatsoever, but you're trying to get positioning.
Really cool corner here. This may be some overtaking opportunities at the end of this race. They've been trying it throughout the course of the weekend. Then this is a really cool section up here through turns 16, 17, 18. A triple apex fast corner, Dawes.
You just keep accelerating all the way through. You're hitting the inside of the track 3 different times. You come off this corner with a ton of speed.
Down a gear through turn 19. Still about 90 miles an hour there through apex. Then hard on the power again up towards our final corner.
Turn 20, really important to get a good launch off here because you're coming up to the front straightaway. In the middle of the front straightaway is the start-finish in the uphill climb into turn 1.
Thanks, boys. And as alluded to, all of the cars on Continental tires. Continental is the official tire of the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. Now that we've seen the track, let's talk about what it's going to take to succeed on it, boys.
Well, downforce, I think you've got to trim out. A number of the DP teams have done just that. Adjustments, a lot of engine and aero changes since Daytona. Then traffic, 3 different classes here. It's going to be hectic. Down through the S's, you can lose a real big bunch of time.
Now here's a look at the starting grid. It will scroll across the top of your screen, topped by John Fogerty in the house car, the Gainsco 99 Corvette DP, record-extending 24th career Daytona prototype pole for Fogerty. Congratulations to him. Here are the onboard cameras we'll be bringing you. Corvette DP, Ford Riley Daytona prototype, one of the Ferraris, one of the GX Mazdas, and we'll also have one on the Porsche 911 safety car. The field in good order as they come off turn 20 and face the green flag. Oh, they're bunched up.
Fogerty on the pole, gets the leap on Jordan Taylor. Memo Rojas tucks to the inside. He looks for the lead early.
5 wide as they go into turn 1.
They get together. They're going to push each other off this racetrack.
GT split start Ferrari front row. It's Balzan from Pappas heading up into turn 1.
This looks much more orderly as these guys got it right. Not so much for the DP guys side by side at the apex, however.
Rojas was really aggressive there. There we see one of the Turner Motorsports BMWs coming off a win in the Continental Tire Series this morning. Scrambling for grip there on the outside of turn 1. These Ferraris have just really had the pace all weekend long. From the very first practice session, they went straight to the top.
Going to be really easy on the steering wheel through here. You see the lead Ferrari right there, balls on with a twitch. These cars still have cold tires, and they don't have the downforce the prototypes do.
That's the key. They've got to get these pressures up, the temperatures up in these Continental tires. But a good clean start for the GT field.
Ambient temperature about 61 degrees, and it'll only get cooler from here. Lots of bright sunshine, though, to keep those track temps up. Now let's check the DP start and look for contact.
Rojas takes it in really deep, forces the rest of the field wide. Looks like the Mike Shank racing car was way off there. The 60 machine of John Pugh.
Could have been a lot worse than it was. They were in there a little too deep on cold tires.
Ricky Taylor up to second.
Ganassi's 0-1 leading handily. Ryan Till with more on tires.
You guys are talking about cold tires, the ambient temperature, the air temperature, relatively cool today, and the track surface a little bit cool as well. These tires need temperature and need pressure in order to perform. So it's going to take 3, 4, maybe even as many as 5 laps on these Continental tires before they are up to temperature and have the maximum grip and pressure as well. Once the pressure builds, the sidewall gets stiffer, the car performs better. Easy for me to say, eh? But it's going to take 3 or 4 laps. These drivers are going to have a handful until those pressures and temperatures come up.
Well, we talk about this in brotherly love out there too today. The Taylor brothers, the Frizzell brothers, all qualified and are starting this race here today. And Ricky, who was a bit disappointed with his qualifying run, immediately up to second. Here comes Enzo Podolicchio. He had a good start. He must have had a problem on that first lap. Now regrouping and fighting his way through the field.
Going by Tracy Crone.
Great to see Crone Racing back in action.
They did a great job in qualifying. That car's been pretty quick all weekend.
Well, that Lola has always been good in high downforce configuration, and coming through this section, that is what really plays out for you.
Hasn't been raced in this configuration, though, since the 2010 season. Tracy Crone, who owns the car and the team, says he's trying to decide what he's going to do beginning in 2014, when, as you may know, the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series and the American Le Mans Series will join forces.
It would be great to see that team back on a regular basis. And, of course, that team here, Nick Johnson, will be running in the World Endurance Championship here in Austin in September later this year.
Riding with Boris Said right now in the Wayland Corvette, one of the American muscle cars in there. And you look at these cars twitching around up in front there. Of course, the Brumo's portion. Look at how it's moving around. Unlike the prototypes, these guys are, like I said before, they're dancing these cars.
They really are. And you could hear the throttle application there through the S's. They're not on it hard much. They're just rolling on and off, just trying to keep that tire underneath them. There's a spinner.
Whoa.
That was maybe Matt Bell possibly in the 52.
You can see how the sun could get in your eyes as it did ours right there. It was hard to tell what kind of car that was.
Look at the gap the pole sitter in class. Alessandro Balzan has opened up. Vastly experienced in these cars is the Italian. He's the 2012 Ferrari Challenge World Champion, running the 458 Italia Challenge car. Not at all different to these 458 Grand Am machines.
That spun car that we saw back there, we couldn't really tell what it was. It was, in fact, the Audi, the 52, that was around. It wasn't Matt Bell.
Balzan, I mean, even though he hasn't done many of these Grand Am races, he stuck the car on the pole at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca last year on debut. So he is a very fast young driver, and this team has come here. They mean business. Looking there at Andrew Davis in the familiar 59 Brumo's Porsche entry. They're not sure where their season is going to head. They've certainly got a commitment through this race, through Barber, and through Road Atlanta, but still no firm commitment for the season. So they need some impressive performances here to get everyone fired up.
Well, 2013, important to anybody who races Porsche 911s, the 50th anniversary of that iconic shape in all its variations. It has won so many races around the world.
We rode on board with Boris Said in the 31 Corvette during his qualifying lap. On his last lap, he told the guys on the radio, quit talking. That's how much concentration he needed right then.
Look at that. Davis taking it in really deep, nearly giving Max Pappas a nudge there through turn 1. John Potter doing a brilliant job here. Really, really strong run for him.
Let's go to Chris Neville.
Well, Bob, just checked in with APR on that Audi R8, and Matt Bell did spin out there. He said it was a DP, one of the Salins cars that came in close contact with him. He just lost the car. He said, hey, guys, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to hopefully have time here to push the car back to the front. We've got a very fast race car. They said just put your head down and push hard.
In fact, he's got nearly 2 hours and 40 minutes to do it. As you see, Memo Rojas with a slight lead, about a second or so, over Ricky Taylor in the number 90. There's your top 5 in Daytona prototype. We'll take a break and return with more of the Grand Am of the Americas here on Speed from Austin. Memo Rojas flashes over the brow.
Look at this, guys. We've been waiting for this moment. The two Taylor boys going side by side down into the brake zone.
Jordan on the left, Ricky on the right.
Jordan had made a move on John Fogerty to get up to third. Now Ricky having to defend from in the 90 car.
Saw Jordan go through the S's with a really much nicer, cleaner line. He was gathering a lot of speed up. Obviously, he's racing. He wants some of his brother.
But the old man is sweating it right now. Jordan gets him. Jordan gets a good run. Looks to the outside.
Father Wayne and Mother Shelley, no doubt, down on the pit wall.
10 cars hooked up, boys. That car looks really strong.
Steady, boys,
Nice to 99. John Fogerty in the pole-sitting car, the red number 99, looking for a way by both.
He does take the long way around. He's going to take that position away from Jordan Taylor. That is the great thing about this race circuit. It allows for this type of racing.
And that was out well executed, no question about it. All three of these guys doing heads up. The two brothers got too involved with themselves, forgot about that red dragon there.
And I tell you what, Alex Popov is joining the party as well in the 2 machine. He's had a good solid opening few laps.
Let's hear from, wow, wait, let's watch and see what John Fogerty has in mind here.
He's almost bump drafting there.
And he takes that spot as
He's
well.
going to lose it right here, I think.
He does, then he hits that curb. See, he lost the traction there. Ricky's going to tuck back in and get that second position back. Here comes Taylor, here comes Popov.
And he's got to run, too. You got to forget about Popov, too, being in there. Watch this, watch this.
These guys are now starting to get a rhythm of this place. They're starting to see you run the laps by yourselves. Now it gets really racy. You can see where you can take advantage of another car. They're going to be aggressive here on this racetrack. There's plenty of runoff room.
You sense, what, we're 10 minutes into the race, and I guess the tires are fully up to temperature and pressure now. And John Fogerty, who is feisty in his most laid-back moments, is on the attack. Let's hear from his teammate with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Alex Gurney down here, loving our pictures. Alex, you guys earned the pole today, but got roughed up down in turn 1. Everything okay with the 99?
I didn't hear what you said, but anyway, yeah, they're battling pretty hard up front. Yeah, it looked like the 01 just kind of powered up the inside on the start, and but oh, now okay, I'm watching on the big screen there. Good racing here. It's fun to watch.
You wanting to get in on that out there?
Yeah. Should be fun when we get up there. Oh wow, now we're back to 4th. Anyway, yeah, hopefully we can put on a good race for everyone at Gainesville, get back on top.
Yeah, only 10 minutes in. These guys are fighting like the last lap of the race. Brian?
And Scott Pruitt watching the monitors down here as well as cars side by side.
Let me break it up, guys. We've got action on track here. We have a wreck.
Yeah, Bert Frizzell got down there on the inside, hit the curb a little bit, and then he got together with Alex Popov. Damage to both race cars. I think Brian Frizzell got through there okay in the other Action Express car.
That was a shame. Popov spun and then collected. Frizzell did big damage, it looks like. I don't know if it's suspension damage. We've got a lot of body work out there laying there. Might bring out a caution for debris. Take a look at right here, Calvin. Here's the curb incident you're talking about. He walks to the inside.
Gets down there, then he has to run the inside curb there, gets a little loose. That pushes Alex out wide. He tries to get on the power. There's no grip out there. He turns it around, clips the right rear suspension. I think Brian Frizzell in the other Action Express car got through there unscathed.
Yeah, he read it good. Watch it right here again. This is aftermath coming through debris. But he read it. He saw that the car was going to come his way. He moved out to the left, just barely missed it. Here's trouble for pit lane, some damage.
Yeah, there's a tire down for sure. There's the damage on the left front of the 2. He remains on track.
Sure, they try to keep him out there, hoping for a full course caution so they didn't go down a lap. But I think they may have cleaned up with
look at the right rear.
Right rear side
rear's
broken.
Okay, let's work out what we got here, and then we'll work out what's busted here, guys.
Major damage on that right rear corner. This is a shame for this team.
That's busted an upper A-frame, I believe, or A-arm.
Yeah, I saw that right rear flopping.
I think 4th at the 24-hour race. Good points on the board. This is devastating. It's a long championship season, but you can't afford these type of blows.
Well, nobody's suggesting that they're done.
No, they're not done. No, they're not done.
So the 2 Frizzell boys involved in that action. Now we've got the 2 Taylor boys at it as well. Remember, there's been a switch this year. Ricky Taylor was running that 10 car. He switched over to the Spirit of Daytona machine, and Jordan Taylor's gone from GT competition to DP. Nice move there. That was pretty cool.
That was nice.
Gustavo Yakiman down to the inside.
Going through a slower GT car and splitting the difference, if you will.
And the tire squeal there. Those Continentals are screaming for mercy there. These boys are really loading them up through this twisty section.
Surprised all that debris didn't bring a caution, but maybe the corner workers went out there and fixed it. Take a look from the 6th car here. Oh, another hip check on the Mazda.
It's the 99 car involved there.
Again, a curb situation where he launched off a curb.
Behind the standard sort of alligator teeth, red and white stripe material, at corners like this one on the left, you'll see that patch of orange. That's an extra high curve to keep the cars from fudging that apex and perhaps putting 2 or even 4 wheels off. You hit that orange cone, or that orange sleeping policeman, as my old colleague Steve Matchett would call it, a speed bump, if you will, you are going to be launched.
We've seen it twice now. The car come airborne and eat up some of the track and then slam into a car that was on the right line for the racing surface.
Tell you what, Mike Shank Racing having a good day. That number 6 car is up to the 4th spot with Yakiman, and I tell you, Mike Shank is really excited about Antonio Pizzonio, who said, I didn't know what to expect. He has been on fire here this weekend on a track he's never seen before, driving a Daytona prototype for the very first time. He said he is really quick, a veteran of 20 Formula 1 races. Long stretch down this straightaway here. Speeds about 165 miles an hour. Jordan Taylor tucked up the gearbox of his brother Ricky, looking for 2nd place.
Moves it to the inside, and it looks like an easy pass. I think both brothers just gave each other enough room after that argy-bargy going on before.
This has to be a really weird dynamic between these two boys. They're eating dinner together throughout the course of the week at their home in Orlando, Florida, and then they're fighting it tooth and nail.
You're suggesting a food fight?
Great battle going on. As we mentioned, the number 2 of Alex Popov stayed on track after that collision earlier. Let's hear from his teammate now with Chris Neville.
I just pulled Ryan Dial off the pit box here. And Ryan, obviously not the way you guys wanted to start this race, but Alex is still out on the racetrack. What kind of shape is the 2 car in?
We're going to find out shortly, but it doesn't look great. I think maybe the splitters broke. So, unfortunately, I think we had one of the best cars here this weekend. And Star Wars guys, we've been top 2 or 3 every session. So, it was kind of one of those racing incidents. Shouldn't have happened, but I think it's really slippy when you get off the track onto the AstroTurf, and Frizzell's move is a little ambitious, I would say, over the curb. So that's life. You know, we got ball neck with some other guys, and we'll see. We're still in the lead lap, so we'll see what happens.
Well, Peter Barron told Alex to stay out on the racetrack because he was hoping that that debris was going to bring out a caution. So they're going to have to fix that car as soon as they get him to pit lane. Ryan?
The 9 car going in the garage as it sits. When it's up on the jack stands, you really can't see the damage. It's once there's a load on, and what it is the lower A-arm where it mounts into the bell housing. The tab has broken off, so there's nothing to hold that lower A-arm front suspend, or the lower A-arm, the front of that up against the oil tank, and that is the problem. It's going to be a lengthy repair, and it's going to be a hot repair because those crews are going to have to go in there amongst the exhaust system and everything else to get that taken care of. A lengthy repair and a big mistake for Bert Frizzell on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's not an easy fix, and the heat just makes it all the worse. You know, if it had not pulled out by the tub, that's would have been easier just to switch the part, but not this time.
Well, I don't think we've seen that porpoising before this weekend in the 01 from Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates. Memo Rojas working hard on the brakes. Another look at that recent schmozzle at the other side of the track as we go to break. We'll be back in a moment to the Circuit of the Americas. We have an historic moment in the GX class. For the first time in the 2 races, it must be said, that the GX class has been in existence, one of the new Mazda 6 Skyactiv diesels is leading the class.
Tom Long has now taken the 70 machine to the front. The 00 of Tristan Nunez had the point for a little bit. Now it's Tom Long at the front. Sandwiched in between is Jim Norman. Now he won the event at Daytona in the Napleton Racing GX Cayman, and he had an interesting story. Let's take a quick look at the replay of the lead here. Here's Tom Long coming down the inside of Jim Norman, down into the brake zone. Nice clean pass. Great to see the BG boys coming back for the 2nd race. They are considering running a full season of this GX campaign.
Back on board the 3. Driving that car shortly will be the well-known French prototype specialist Stéphane Sarrazin. Let's hear more from him now with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob and Stefan Saracen will be in this car all season except for a couple dates in June when he's got Le Mans. And Stefan, you've spent so much time in the LMP1 cars, Toyota and Peugeot. How different is the Daytona prototype?
It's quite big difference, you know. DP is more like a GT car to drive. It's heavier, it's powerful, very powerful. Very quick on the straight line, but on the corner, the P1 it's just amazing. It's close to the F1, so much more downforce, and the chassis also is better. So it's different. It's carbon chassis. He's not. So, but it's a very good car to drive.
Yeah, one thing he told me earlier this weekend is he loves the pushing and shoving that goes on in this series.
Yeah, it's exciting to have him in the series. I mean, he's one of the best sports car drivers in the world. Literally can drive anything. He's driven Formula One cars. He's driven rally cars at the highest level.
It's interesting for him to say that it drives like a GT car. That does make a lot of sense when you think of this car as being a tube-frame steel car. The weight of these Daytona prototypes compared to a LMP1 or 2 car, like, you know, there's no comparison.
Oh, some argy-bargy doors. Fogarty down to the inside of Ricky Taylor up into turn 1.
And they did a little paint swap, no doubt. It's not over with either.
There's that pushing and shoving that Saracen was talking about. 3rd place for Fogarty. Taylor drops to 4th.
These guys had some great battles last year when Ricky Taylor was in the 10 machine. A lot of respect between these two drivers. But look at Yackerman.
Yeah, I'm impressed. Actually, Yackerman doing a really good job, hanging right tough.
Didn't look that great over the course of practice, but they really worked hard on those Mike Shank machines, and he's got some pace here today.
These guys not afraid to push on each other a little bit. These are strong cars, make no doubt about that.
Now that the 90 has dropped to 4th place, let's hear from the driver who'll take over for Ricky Taylor, new father Richard Westbrook with Brian.
Westbrook has a lot to celebrate. A good run at the Rolex 24 with a 5th place finish. Then you go home to your first daughter, Amelia. Congratulations on that. But I understand that you're playing golf with Calvin on Sunday, and we were wondering if the wager was for diapers because Calvin had his daughter back in November. What's the bet going to be?
Oh, I don't know yet. Yeah, I mean, we're going for a lot of diapers at the moment, so it's good to be out here. It feels like a holiday at the moment, but no, we're having a tough race at the moment, and I've just seen a picture of my daughter on the screen, and that is absolutely lovely to see. Yeah, it's a tough race right now. We're struggling with pace. We're not sure why, because we were good in the practices. Ricky had a tough qualifying, didn't get a lap together. But he's been really quick here, and we're struggling to work out what's wrong with the car at the moment. So we need to get a bit of pace back, and then I'll worry about the diapers and the golf.
He's getting ready to get in the car, so we're going to let him go. What all the drivers have said is qualifying on this racetrack in practice was one thing. This race is turning out completely different when it comes to strategy and where to drive the car.
Tell you one, someone who's found a lot of pace is Jordan Taylor. He just dipped into the 2-minute flat range, a 2-minute 0.8. Rojas had the fastest lap till that point at the 2-minute 1.4. So Jordan Taylor is a man on a move, currently in 2nd spot.
On board with the 6th car right now. One of the things we're going to find out is how they work together in traffic, because right now the prototype car is starting to weed their way through. And right in this area, see, look at this slow up. Nothing you can do. There's a lot more speed there, obviously, but if you catch a car, you got to take a risk.
Reminds me of the S's at Road Atlanta. Do you take a chance and try and get by before the S's, or do you bite off 3 or 4 seconds in loss of lap time?
And look at all the GT traffic up ahead. You try to read that when you see which part of the racetrack you're on. Say you're on those S's and you see these GT cars. It's better to slow up early and not encounter them where you should be going quickly.
And there's so much change of direction, you can't be sure that the GT driver has seen you, because it's hard to see through the side mirror when you're constantly changing direction. You lose sight of the car behind you. Here's a good run by Yackerman coming off the corner. Takes the position away from Ricky Taylor.
Not yet, he hasn't. He's trying hard.
He's down on the inside. There's going to be tough for Ricky to come back unless traffic plays a part here. Bit more straightaway speed. That 90 car is definitely trimmed out for the race here today.
Ooh, they're bumping. Look at them cross-checking each other.
Oh. And there's the 57.
Look at John Edwards.
John Edwards. They started at the back of the GT field after an engine change, and he's got that car up to 6th in the class right now.
Those GT cars have a lot of mechanical grip, and down at these hairpins, these GT cars can roll through the corners with the same sort of speed, as you could see right there.
Talk about Mike Johnson runs that team. They were looking at the 57 engine. Look at this side-by-side checking I was talking about. I knew they were hitting, just barely bouncing off each other right there. Anyway, they took a look at the Mecha filter, which is a micro filter for oil, and they found debris inside of the Mecha, which means that something inside the engine's eating itself. They deemed to give up their qualifying position and go to the back with a new engine. Smart.
More on that car from Chris Neville.
Yeah, Dorsey, you talk about that car having an ill motor. It's also got an ill driver. John Edwards this weekend has been very sick. He initially thought he had the flu, but his dad is head of surgery at University of Cincinnati. And after talking with his dad, it sounds like more likely he's had food poisoning. So he's had very little track time here this weekend, really just going out and qualifying. So the team very happy with what he's been doing on the racetrack, but he is really just hanging on to everything he can right now until he can hand that car over to Robin Liddell.
And big problems for that class-leading Mazda.
I can drive it back if you feel like the pressures are good. It just smells really rich, like diesel smoke rich.
Just try to come back slowly. Watch your boots and see if you have any, okay?
And he's talking about a diesel smell inside the car and the
no boost. Copy that. No boost.
No boost. Okay. That could be. There's two turbos on this car. There's a small turbocharger that stays spooled up that feeds a larger turbocharger. This is a turbo diesel, or twin turbo diesel, if you will. The problem they had in the Rolex 24 was holding pistons, and I don't know that is what this is yet.
Changed the design of that piston,
yes.
Dorsey, as I understand.
Yeah, they changed the top of the piston and on the design. I mean, they're dealing with metallurgy right now. That's a very tricky subject. They're trying to stay away, if they can, from a steel piston because the weight of the piston itself gives the whole engine a lot more reciprocating mass to deal with, which is not a good thing. But it's a work in progress, and they'll get it right, believe me.
And there's the sister car, the 00, in the hands of Tristan Nunez, now running second in class. Let's hear from the man whose company built these cars, Sylvain Tremblay, with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Sylvain Tremblay's had his hands full with these cars. And Sil, it sounds like you've got a turbo problem right now.
It seems like we have a turbo boost hose off. So we went from leading laps to having some problems, but it's all part of the process. Excited to be here with our SkyActiv technology Mazda 6.
Yeah, part of the process. This team's got to get this car working, and then they'll be winning. Brian?
Down here at Ganassi Racing, Scott Pruitt looking on. And Scott, you've driven at some of the premier racetracks throughout the world. How's Circuit of the Americas ranked right now?
Number one. Absolutely beautiful track, beautiful facility. They thought it out for the drivers, out of my family at home, for the sponsors, for everybody, and all the viewing positions. But more than anything else, when you get on the track as a driver, it's just incredible, the flow and the technical difficulty that you got to get right. It's a lot of fun. The Telex BMW's running great. Emma's doing a good job, and fingers crossed.
Talk about that difficulty. One of the questions that people have seemed to have is how much aero do we run? What did you guys decide on? Because you got to have straight line speed, but you got to have the grip through the corners.
Everybody was doing a little something different. You see heavy, medium, and light, and we decided to go with the medium downforce. So that's one of the things about coming to a new track. You don't know what to expect, and we'll find out here in about another 2 hours.
They're trying to figure out how to race it and get to the checkered flag first, Bob.
You look at that porpoising with 94 cars off the road here, too. We were watching the 01 and the porpoising. What normally happens when that car is doing something like that is it's bottoming the nose, and it's losing all of the air underneath the nose, and it's rebounding off its shock absorbers. Usually an indication it's too low. Let's see what happens here. Oh, big lockup, big spin.
Paul Dallalana going down the inside of Michael Marcel, getting it a little bit wrong. He's having to adjust. He won the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race this morning. A little bit different machine he's with. Another BMW. Narrowly misses his teammate. Will Turner would have been sweating on that one.
Talk about threading the needle. Now, word from the pit lane is that
Steady, another one.
The number 9 car, Bert Brazel, is getting a stop-and-go plus 60 seconds stationary in the pits for that contact with the 2 on track.
And then turning the power back on.
So Paul Dallalana is going to need some help getting that BMW refired. There are your class leaders. We'll take a break. Be back with more of the Grand Am of the Americas from COTA in Austin, Texas.
Facilities first class. The track is fun to drive.
Welcome back to the Circuit of the Americas, just outside Austin, Texas, with Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, and Brian Till. I'm Bob Varsha. The debut of the Grand Am Rolex Series. It's the Grand Am of the Americas. We're under our first full course caution. with a little over 2 hours and 7 minutes remaining, 17 laps complete. There's a look out the back of the Porsche 911 safety car, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the 911. 400 horsepower, 27 miles a gallon, 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. What else do you want?
Do we see the wave around? That is legal, what that Mazda just did. If you're trapped behind the safety car, the overall leader, or excuse me, the class leader, you're allowed to do this pass around, and just keeps everyone in the game. So I really like this rule that they have in place. I think when the pit lane does open, we're past that 30-minute mark, so expect to see a lot of action with these DPs.
The pace car was giving a little incentive there.
Yeah.
Little guidance.
We're under the caution because we had cars parked everywhere around the racetrack. You saw that 70 Mazda GX class car was back underway, which is good news for that team. There's the 57, and he was part of a tangle. Watch the back of your screen. John Edwards and Patrick Lindsay in the Porsche getting together.
And I think they got stacked up by the Salen's Daytona prototype that was pretty slow in front of them. Remember, the GT cars can't stop at the same brake level as that prototype. And I think it just stacked them up. They both got on the brakes and pirouette.
Just a disaster there for Mike Johnson on the wall and this whole Stevenson team. I mean, coming off a DNF at Daytona, another one here today. Whew, it's a tough GT field to rebound from this. You see Yakiman there. Looks like he's trying to get ready. I see some loosening going on. You see the belts. They're supposed to keep those things on, but you can see any precious second that you can save on pit lane may leapfrog you around the competition. You've got to be conscious, though, when you've got an onboard camera that the race director is not observing this. Because even at low speed, when those belts aren't tight, that can be an issue.
Boris said, no doubt about who's in that car. He started, then stays.
Well, it's a cool and breezy day here in Austin, but inside these enclosed race cars, it can get very, very hot. As you look at Enzo Portalicchio, who remains in the #3 Corvette Daytona prototype.
Probably comfy in the car today because it's cold outside, but usually it's not comfy in these cars.
The cars are so refined from an aerodynamic perspective, there isn't much in the way of a draft. Cars on pit road. Here's Chris Neville.
Yeah, our pole sitter currently running third, John Fogerty, handing over to Alex Gurney, and boom, a crew member got hit here by the 3 car. The tire just up in the air. Looks like somebody else is going to try and roll it back out on pit lane here, but man, I almost got hit by that tire. Going to do 4 Continental tires, fuel for this car. Put Alex Gurney behind the wheel, and this car, looking at it, looks like about medium downforce settings on the 99 car. Brian?
Well, the 01 and the 10 are in at the same time. The race now has come to pit road. The Ganassi crew going to work right behind them. Velocity Worldwide from Wayne Taylor Racing going to work. Right side tires on the Continentals on the 01. The 10 is away first. They get out of the pit before the 01.
Oh, the red flag
and they
is
get
there.
stopped.
The red flag's there once again. The Velocity Worldwide team of Wayne Taylor, brilliant in the pits, just as they were at the Daytona 24-hour race. These guys are executing to perfection. When you can beat the Ganassi boys on a pit stop, you are doing something right.
Well, that was a pretty frantic set of pit stops right there between that near disaster involving the 99. Watch as the 99 pulls into its pit. The front tire changer on the right side will circle around the front of the car. Watch the orange #3 coming in. Pow!
That could have been really ugly. Fortunately, it looked like that mechanic jumped back up and is okay.
And it's interesting because there is a pit wall cut through right there. So the 3 car had plenty of room to get around the 99. Did not need to be that close, it would appear. Let's go down to John Fogerty with Chris Neville.
Yeah, but that cut through, Bob, is pretty tight, so it's tight getting these cars in and out. John, that was a wild first stint there. Lots of contact out on the racetrack. You surprised about that?
No. You know, it's the track kind of lends itself to taking chances, you know, and then GT cars bottle people up a lot, and then you have a lot of differences in aero setups out there. So, you know, it's pretty wild.
Lots of marks on the 99. Is it in good shape?
Yeah, no, it's fine. And it seems as the run goes on, the car gets better. Early on in the stint, there's a little bit too much understeer for my tastes, but we have a little bit of adjustment to make. So, you know, Gainesville car's running pretty good. We definitely got dragged on the start. That was painful, and I thought I had a good start. So,
are you guys running a little bit too much downforce, do you think?
It doesn't matter when you're accelerating for the first 3 gears. Aero doesn't play into it. That's just horsepower. So, we do have a lot of downforce, but no more than I think the guys that we're right with. So, it's a little give and take everywhere we go.
Brian?
Well, down here at Velocity Worldwide, Jordan Taylor climbed out of the Corvette. And Jordan, spectacular racing on the racetrack, but I think the guys in the booth were having a hard time calling it because it was Taylor and Taylor most of the time. How was that racing with your brother?
Well, I think we were all saying before this race that no one really knew how we were going to race each other, and I think Ricky just kind of laid it on the line right there, how he was going to race us. So I think we almost crashed about 14 times in 3 corners. So it was good racing. I mean, we didn't hit each other yet, but the car is strong. The Velocity guys always had a great pit stop, and looking forward to the rest of the race.
You guys going to have dinner together tonight?
It'll be interesting. I don't know. See who wins.
They're going to have some fun this year. I'd like to be at dinner tonight, or at least a fly on the wall listening to that conversation and what advice comes down on high from mom and dad. Still under full course caution here at Circuit of the Americas. We'll take another break and return. Plenty of great Rolex Sports Car Series action coming your way for the Grand Am of the Americas. We'll be back. Back at the Circuit of the Americas, you're looking at Eric Curran, who has taken over the number 31 Whelen Corvette. Chris Neville is standing by with the man he replaced.
Yeah, Boris said brought the Whelen Corvette in third place. And Boris, this is your kind of race. Lots of pushing and shoving going on out there.
Oh my God, I mean, this Team Chevy Whelen Corvette, so much fun to drive. This track is fantastic. I mean, Austin did a great job. You drive so aggressive trying to keep up, and it's just my kind of track. You know, to get by that Porsche, you gotta drive 100%. You gotta rough up the suspects, and I just hated to get out. It was so much fun.
Now, I'm hearing a lot of rumors about you guys next year. A DP, probably one of the Coyote chassis. How real is that right now?
Maybe. I mean, right now I'm enjoying driving this Whelen Chevrolet. I mean, it's a great car. It's a good cause for the Michael J. Fox Foundation to find a cure for Parkinson's. And if we're in a DP, that's great. But right now, this Corvette's a blast to drive.
Yeah, I'm hearing they'll be testing a car later this year. Brian?
Well, just before we went full course caution, the 60 from Mike Shank Racing had come to the pits to do their standard routine service, and it was perfect timing. They got it done, then they went full course caution. So that 60 now sits P2 out there on the racetrack. But remember, Oz Negre had that bad ankle at the Rolex 24. It was questionable whether he could even drive. He says it feels much better here, but he still cannot right foot brake. He has to use his left foot on the brake pedal. Under heavy braking, it's not a problem, but he says he lacks the finesse with his left foot on the brake pedal in some of the twisty bits of the racetrack where you've got to just slow the car down a little bit, little mild applications of the brake pedal. It's not as accurate as he wants it to be, and he thinks it could be a bit of a detriment when we go back to green. But you can get bet on one thing: Oz Negre is going to be going for it at the drop of the green.
Yeah, he told me this morning, Brian, he actually spikes the brake pressure too high. And I said, how is it in traffic? He said, I really don't know. He said, that's when I'm just trying to think about it and running clean race laps. When you get in traffic, suddenly there's a car in front of you, Dorsey. That can be even more of an issue when you're not doing it instinctively.
Yeah, he broke a bone in his foot. He didn't want to get surgery on it so he could continue driving. As you see the 57 come back out of pit lane to rejoin the race. But, you know, that's a delicate subject, that left foot brake. If you're a left foot braker, then you've sensitized your left foot to feel that car underneath you. If you're a right foot braker and you try to use your left foot and you haven't done it before, that sensitivity is probably only 60% at best. And you get to the threshold right before you lock up and you just don't feel it. And that stab in the brakes when somebody pops up in front of you, like you say, pushes you past the limit too often.
Yeah, and if you doubt what's just been said about braking with a foot you're not used to, try it sometime. Just make sure you are somewhere wide open and flat with nothing to hit.
Yeah, don't come into your garage and try it.
No. Back down to Chris Neville.
Well, Bob, we talked to Sylvain Tremblay earlier. We thought it was a turbo problem with that Mazda, but that car back out on the racetrack now. The 70 car just left pit lane, just talked to Sil, and he said it was a fuel line. Those fuel lines under a lot of pressure, and one of the fittings came loose, so they lost all their fuel pressure. That's why they were in pit lane, but they got the car fixed. So now this really turns into kind of a testing session for them, which they need a lot of testing with that car still.
They've been having some issues with fuel lines, with fittings on fuel lines. It's not an easy thing. That thing's pushing out 30,000 PSI of fuel line pressure. If you get a leak, it is a very big leak, and it's catastrophic usually. So they've got a problem there. They know the problem. They're going to work on it. Like I said, it's a work in progress. These guys are smart guys. They'll get it fixed.
Long in the car, working the sequential shifter, pushing it forward to go up a gear, pulling to go down a gear, pulling it back to shift up. Lights off on the Porsche 911 safety car.
Action Express also used a great bit of strategy there. They got past the 30-minute mark, so just like Oz Negri, they pitted before the yellow as well. They now assume the lead of this race with Christian Fittipaldi coming off a top 10, but disappointing run at Daytona. Christian wants a lot more. Here he goes. Once that pace car is in, the leader can go for it, unlike last year.
So Memo Rojas getting really aggressive, antsy before the start. Green.
The leader determines when everyone goes, but once the green flag is displayed, you can pass anywhere on the racetrack.
Look at this. Look at Oz Negri defending from Max Angelelli, two of the toughest drivers in the business, going toe-to-toe, down into turn one.
It stacks the field. Memo Rojas got the run there. He's going to get a good run down the hill.
You may wonder why Memo Rojas has stayed behind the wheel. I spoke to Timmy Keane this morning. He said this place is really, really physical. He said, thinking about it, I should have probably qualified Scott Pruitt, put Memo in for the middle stint and put Scott back in. He said, I may decide to double stint Memo. That's exactly what he's doing.
Why not? Memo did a great first stint. I mean, he was spot on the money.
And he was pretty awesome in qualifying.
Yeah, Memo is on his game. He has really developed enormously over the last few years. He's won championships, but you always think that Scott Pruitt's the man. Well, right now, Memo Rojas seems to be matching him in all aspects of the game. He is really on fire.
A couple of pit lane speed limit violations coming up. One for the 00, the Mazda diesel, Tristan Nunez driving. The other was the 93 BMW, Michael Marsal.
Look at this, Angelelli, because of the argy-bargy with Oz Negri, he's now down in 4th. And he's got gapped a little bit here. We see the Salins machine. Dane Cameron, it looks like, really making some ground here on his opening lap.
Alex Gurney in for John Fogarty in the 99 Red Dragon car.
And these guys moving all day around the racetrack. That's a nice thing, like you said before, Calvin. There's a lot of room out there to maneuver.
You can get really aggressive, and sometimes it'll pay off, sometimes it won't. We saw Bert Frizzell. I wouldn't say it was overly aggressive, but he tried to dive down the inside of there, forced pop off wide, and he got hurt the worst out of that little trade of action earlier in this race. But what a performance by this Salins team. So impressive at Daytona, running second in the opening hour of the race, splitting the two Ganassi teams. That was something else for this very young DP team.
Look at the whole nose of the Red Dragon, the 99, the red car. From one end to the other, it's been used up. And we know who did that. John Fogarty had a very aggressive first stint.
Rojas closing in on Oz Negri for second. Fittipaldi continues to lead for Action Express. And this is where you really don't need to be having a thinking about your driving. When you got pressure from one of the best in the game, the 01 team right behind you, Oz Negri should be able to just do his thing. Right now, he's thinking about, how do I break into these corners?
Now there's the number 3, given a stop and go plus 30 for contact with that tire, being carried by the crewman for the 99.
Wow, I really do not agree with that penalty. I mean, we saw it in replay. The mechanic was not there. The 3 car was coming into his pit box, Dorsey, and suddenly it's almost like the mechanic ran into the side of that car. This is a pass for second.
Takes away second place. A very, very decisive pass.
Tough call for the 3 team.
Yeah, it is a very tough call. I agree with you, Calvin. I mean, one guy was going one way and the other was the other way.
Ideally, the 3 cars should have given a bit more room, but the mechanic also has a responsibility. He's got to be heads up and looking at traffic coming into their pit boxes. They know that all of the DPs are coming in together once the pits are open, so.
You got to wonder right there on that pass of Oswaldo Negro if that brake pedal or his leg is not the reason that happened, because we know how aggressive Oz normally would be in an overtaking situation like that, and he's driving injured. Let's just put it that way.
He's one tough dude.
And this is going to be an awfully long, nearly 2-hour stint for him to get through with that leg right there. He didn't do a lot of laps at Daytona. This is going to be a tough stint for Oz Negri.
If it's still really sensitive like that, I kind of question why he's putting himself in that position. You know, I think the healing is the important thing, but I understand his desire.
Driving with John Pugh, former winner of the Jim Truman Award for gentleman drivers. See Jeff Siegel, co-champion last year in the GT class. Let's hear from another Ferrari driver now with Brian Till.
Mad Max Pappas climbed out of that Ferrari from R Ferry Motorsports with AIM earlier. Man, the battle out there seems to be intense, Max, just like you like it. when you learn about this racetrack right now, where does this Ferrari have the legs? Where can you guys take advantage of the competition?
First of all, it was a lot of fun. Hi guys at home, and it was a lot of fun. Us and the other Ferrari. We were really, the class of the field. We're very fast in the S's. We're not so fast down the straight, but that really compensate, for the difference between cars. And the track lost a lot of grip compared to practice. It's not as much grip, so you can't really use the good of the car that is getting huge amount of speed in the corner. So that makes it a lot more interesting. And let me tell you, the battle that I had with Balzan was a lot of fun, and that's why I came here to Grand Am, to kind of use all my technique that I learned in NASCAR, sports car, and apply it, and I hope the guys at home have a lot of fun.
It's been fantastic to watch. Now Jeff Siegel behind the wheel. He'll see if he can take that Ferrari to the front.
God, I love these GT cars dancing around. You look at all the different cars and what they're doing on that racetrack. I mean, they're all moving. These guys at the limit, and they're all catching and pitching and going on. Neat stuff.
Really cool. There we see the Camaro, which is typically so good over the curbs. They've actually been allowed to run the car an inch lower for this year, which means it's a bit more aggressive on the curbs. They're having to adjust to that, but what a battle we're seeing here. Ferraris, BMWs, Audis, Porsches, all in the same frame here.
And the Camaro mixed in with it, a little American car muscle.
It's a good recipe for great racing.
Matt Bell in the 52, coming down the inside, looking for position, Bob. Oh, and look at that, to the inside of those guys.
And look at all those brands. Cars that are fun to drive will lead to great racing. Oh, the Audi gets shunted aside. A little bit of a hip check there, maybe.
Audi so impressive at Daytona. They came loaded. They had the factory support. Getting the 1-2 finish there. We're running 1-2-3 towards the end of the race. Then the AIM got their car on the AIM Motorsport team got their car on the podium. But it was a brilliant performance, and it was really a development curve for that team last year and for all this manufacturer. But they have a strong GT machine.
These Ferrari GT cars have big shoes to fill. Recall that Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa finished 3rd and 4th in the debut of Formula One here at the Circuit of the Americas last November. Let's get more on the Audi now with Chris.
Yeah, about that Audi last year, really a development year. One thing that they figured out, that car, when it runs over in Europe, runs with windows, and the wing position that it has over there and ran last year with was just fine when the car has windows. But over here, they pull those windows out, and what they learned is that there's a lot of dead air at the back of the car with the windows out. And so what they did this year is they moved that wing further back and also moved it up a little bit, and it's really come to life.
Yeah, that rear wing was really not doing anything. They were really kind of taken aback when they looked in the wind tunnel when they took the windows out, Chris, and saw what the airflow was doing. It really disrupted it and really destroyed the performance of the car, and that's a tough handicap when you've not got rear downforce, Dorsey. That's a rough ride.
Yeah, that's a lot of driving and not getting anywhere. That's what that is.
Great battle in GT. Alessandro Balzan now leads Patrick Long, Ferrari and Porsche. There's a little of that pushing and shoving that Stefan Sarazan talked about. We'll be back to the Circuit of the Americas. Now, before we get to a recap of the highlights of the race thus far, Christian Fittipaldi leads the overall in the number 5 Action Express Corvette Daytona prototype over Memo Rojas, who is still in after starting that Telmex Ganassi BMW Riley.
Rojas was really close to our leader, but let's take a look at what's happened so far in this race. Watch Rojas here on the initial start, Dorsey, all the way up the inside, late on the brakes, gets really tight down into turn 1. Fogarty gets sandwiched there.
Yeah, that stacks everybody up. A little bit of contact made there. It's not going to be the only thing we see contact-wise coming up.
Much more disciplined GT start right here. Balzan and Pappas across the front row.
Great battle those two had as we see the 94 get pushed wide outside one of Turner Motorsports BMWs.
Then we saw this. We talk about this opportunity to pass here. Bert Frizzell dives down the inside of Alex Popov, leaps over the curb. Popov goes wide, loses grip, clouts Bert Frizzell. Major damage to the 9 machine. Brian Frizzell escapes.
And once again, curb in play, launches a car into another. That was the 99 Gainsco hitting the 70 GX class leader at the time, I think.
Simple spin here for the number 38 GX class Porsche Cayman.
And look at this, trading some paint. Yakiman and Ricky Taylor down in the brake zone. Then a GT, and John Edwards gets into the mix as well.
Yeah, to have a little fun. I mean, why not?
How about this? Between team cars from Turner Motorsport, Paul Della Lana threads the needle going sideways. Took him a while to get that car refired. As you take another look.
Yeah, that was going right through the middle with eyes closed.
Two teammates going at it. Then we saw some pit stops, and look at this scary moment indeed as the 3 car comes into its pit box, clips the front wheel of the Gainsco machine and the mechanic, and ultimately that caused a penalty for the 3 car.
On board a GT Ferrari now as chaos breaks out ahead of them.
57, a little bit optimistic there on that pass. Hip checks the R8.
And the 73 car gets into the 57, breaking an upright on that car, costing them 4 laps. They get a penalty for that one, a stop and hold. Then a pass or an attempt for the lead. Rojas down the inside, locks it up as Christian Fittipaldi closes the door, and Angelelli is trying to take advantage there. But meanwhile, it is closed back up, Bob.
It is ruthless, and that's the way we like it.
Got on the phone with Memo, and they told him, do not make contact, because they've seen now these penalties, which are excessive. That's a stop and hold in 60 seconds. So it's just not worth it to make a bump and turn a guy around and have to go back to that pit and sit there for a minute.
Here he comes up into turn 1. They touch. They're going to trade paint here as they now get back on the power. Accelerating down. Rojas on the outside.
And
Angelelli's right there.
That's right. In the 10, Max the Axe Angelelli just looking for an opening.
I was just about to say Rojas has got the pace, but he's got to make a clean pass. Don't throw this race away. Pieces are flying.
It looked like a bit of somebody's race car.
I like Max there. Max is like a vulture. He's just sitting back there waiting. If they make contact like that, if there's an opening, he's going to be through and gone.
Well, he feels good after the 24-hour race, Bob. They got good points on the board. They typically come out of Daytona in a hole. He said, we can actually change our strategy for the rest of this season. We do not have to be so desperate.
Tell you what, the 01 has got some speed. There's no doubt about that. Memo's doing a great job this time. Not that he doesn't do all the time. I mean, he's really showing himself here again.
And that's after those performance adjustments we talked about post Rolex 24 at Daytona back in January.
On board with Pizzonia here, running in 4th spot in the number 6 Mike Shank Racing. Riley Ford, and look at this, Rojas looking for the lead. Pizzonia is going to be in this battle soon. These guys are slowing each other down a little bit. Christian's trying to defend the lead here. That's allowing the rest of the pack to close up. The 99 of Gurney's not too far away.
How'd they get offline there? Look at Pizzonia. Here he comes.
This kid knows something about going fast in a straight line. I believe he still holds the record for the fastest straight line speed by a Formula One car at a racetrack on the schedule. At Monza, Italy, he was timed in a testing session, or clocked at 233 miles an hour, if I'm not mistaken.
Had Grand Prix starts for Williams and Jaguar, and he is right in the thick of this battle. We're hearing that the 01 come up. Memo Rojas with that little argy-bargy may have lost a front dive plane. That will affect the performance of his race car.
Especially these new dive planes, which are pretty big aero pieces.
The Rileys are allowed to run a bigger front dive plane now to give them a bit more downforce for a high downforce configuration. Not so much in use here, but certainly throughout the course of the season, we're going to see those sprouted around the field. This is great stuff.
Yeah,
Gurney really back in the action again.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Gurney now up into the hunt. He likes what he sees up there. He wants some of that too. Fogarty was having all the fun. He had to sit there and watch it. He didn't like that.
He was one of the first drivers to actually drive around this racetrack. And the 99 machine came here at the end of last year and absolutely loved the place and couldn't wait to get back.
Good move there by Angelelli on a lap car, on a GT car, not a lap car necessarily, but he read it right and then snatched that car right over to the outside to take away the position.
Key for Mike Shank, he's got to be on the radio with both these drivers at the number 6, Yackerman and Pizzonia, and just keep these guys under control. They have speed, they have raw talent, but you've got to be patient, you've got to control this race.
Since his Formula One career ended, Antonio Pizzone has been a star in his native country's stock car series, as is Christian Fittipaldi.
One thing I'd say, precedent has been set as far as the rulemaking goes. This contact is not going to be allowed, so you have to play that into your game plan. We've seen 2 stop and go 60s, so you know, you got to get on the horn and say, don't be pushing anybody around.
Well, this battle continues. Let's get down to Chris Neville with Patrick Lindsay from the 73 Porsche team.
Yeah, Bob, just a little while ago we saw Pat Long bring the 73 car to pit lane for that stop and hold, but it was Patrick Lindsay behind the wheel when the contact with the 57 happened. Patrick, what happened out there?
Yeah, I was really comfortable in my Park Place Porsche, a little too comfortable. Went in deep on the 57 into 12, got in hot, there was a DP parked in the middle, and I panic braked, got it turned around and backed into the 57. Tough break for both teams. I'm really sorry to Matt, and our Park Place Porsche is still running strong. We'll see how the race unfolds.
Yeah, a little bit of a mistake there, now running 14th, but this hometown team still hoping to come away with a podium.
Perfect setup by Memo Rojas there, Dorsey. He really lined Christian Fittipaldi up nicely. Fittipaldi defended down into turn 20. Memo was through and into the lead.
Strong move, Calvin, no doubt about it. He watched that one. I saw it like you did, set up, and he did it absolutely perfectly. Now watch the legs on the 01, because I think he's going to really extend that lead pretty quickly. I think in the meantime, Fittipaldi's going to come under a lot of attack by Max Angelelli and all the group behind him.
For more on the Corvettes, let's go to Brian.
You guys talking about the downforce package on the Corvettes. Obviously, the gurney on the rear wing, that's been adjustable for a while, as the gurney on the spoiler a little bit lower down. The big changes have been up front. This is a nose off of one of the Action Express cars. This dive plane here has been allowed to be enlarged. You can see how much larger the dive plane is now on top of the old one. The other thing that's allowed now is these fences that get attached to the bodywork like that. It holds the air on and helps give downforce to the front end of these Corvettes. They're not using that this weekend. We talked about how much downforce do you run. The Corvette guys have decided they can get enough front downforce with this larger front dive plane, but they've got a lot more tools in their toolbox to work with now as far as downforce goes.
And we've got more contact on the racetrack that time between the 5 and the 10 Corvettes.
Angelelli getting right down to the inside, had to give it up, otherwise he was going to turn Christian Fittipaldi. You've got to be careful with these dive planes that some of these teams are now using. If you get down in there and tear those off, it destroys the balance of the race car for the remainder of the race. So you've got to be conscious of that.
And from Christian's standpoint, he is not wanting to get past. He is going to make you really work hard to get inside of him.
Really impressed with the race pace of the Mike Shank Racing Fords here today. Didn't look strong in practice, but boy, they are on song now. Personia done a brilliant job on debut. Gurney right there in the mix.
Watch that pass in GT cars right there. All those guys pinched 93 Michael Martel because those cars are edgy. You know?
Watch Angelelli. Angelelli looking for second spot. Takes it all the way to the inside. He's down in the pit exit there. Gets the position from Fittipaldi.
Boy, but Christian put him down in the pit lane. He was not going to give him any room.
And here comes Bizonia and Gurney.
Yeah, and Gurney.
Bizonia is an interested observer right now. He said, okay, is that how we play here? Let me have some.
Yeah, he's learning, isn't he? He's sitting back there right now taking it all in. I can do this.
This racetrack produces fantastic racing. It's one thing about an enjoyable lap by yourself. It's all about making it exciting, and this place does it. Look at this. Angelelli gets a bit of a draft. He's got to run on him. Christian sees him coming, force him all the way, but he does give him a lane. It's very wide, so it's aggressive but clean, I feel.
Did you see what Max did first? He feinted to the outside. Right there, he feints the outside, then he switches back over. Christian sees it, pushes him into pit lane.
He was on it. He could tell, couldn't he?
Yeah, he knew he was coming.
Two pros.
Takes pretty precise timing to make sure you don't run into the back of the guy ahead of you as you're headed for the brakes at top speed. Of course, they did have the benefit and the help of that big hill leading to turn 1. There are your leaders in class. We'll be back with more of the Grand Am of the Americas from the Circuit of the America in Austin, Texas.
The facility is awesome. I mean, it's obviously F1 quality. It's state-of-the-art and really kind of the future of North American motorsports here, so they really set the bar high.
Welcome back to the Circuit of the Americas. A little under 1 hour, 27 minutes remaining in round 2 of the Rolex Sports Car Series for 2013 here on Speed. Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, and Brian Till. I'm Bob Varsha. There's Memo Rojas leading in the Telmex car from Chip Ganassi Racing with Felix Sabates.
Well, it hasn't been easy. Certainly they were the dominant force at Daytona. There's been some engine adjustments, and it's certainly played a part, but they've been very far. Oh, this is drama for the 31 machine. Running so strong here today, up in the top 3 with Boris.
Boris did that on purpose. He's we heard a report of a massive amount of smoke came out of the car. Let's see here, listen in here. sure what happened. Right? Oh, no, he's broke a right front suspension.
Eric Curran behind the wheel. What are you hearing, Chris?
Yeah, he initially reported to the team that he thought the left front or right front was flat. Looks like it's the right front on that car. And the team now realizing that probably it is suspension. As you guys can see, that right front wheel wobbling around quite a bit. The car was running second at the time, so really a heartbreak for this team.
Sounds like a ball joint, broken ball joint, upright, whatever. You know, when that right front, look at it right there flopping around. That's where the smoke came from initially.
Yeah, Curran was up to second, actually. He had a tremendous run as well. So we had Boris up in the top three. Eric Curran took over. He got up to second place, chasing down the Ferrari.
Now, unfortunately, with a heavy GT car like that, those curbs, this is the price you pay. When you bang those curbs really hard, these suspension pieces really go through a lot of grief.
Particularly if you have it loaded. There's one thing about the unweighted side, if you're floating the inside wheel, but if you load the outside wheel and hit one, that can do the damage.
To Chris.
Yeah, this is going to be a much longer stop than they initially thought. As soon as we started showing the car out on the racetrack, Teddy Marsh could quickly see that this problem was not just going to be a flat tire. And actually, they're looking at the left side, and I think we saw it on the right side, didn't we, guys?
That's right.
Yeah, they're looking at the wrong side, I think.
Right front is, if they look at the right front wheel, it's towed out by a lot.
Don't send him.
He'll see it right now. He's just going over there. He's going to say, wait, stop.
The right front. Look at the right front.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Look at the right front.
Oh, the argy-bargy back here behind these cars. I saw somebody just got pushed off back there, and there was a red Ferrari involved.
Those red Ferraris run strong. There's another one out there in the Patron colors. Johannes van Overbeek sharing the car with Mike Hedlund here today, a guy that he coaches in various series, and they've got a strong run going on for the ESM team. Great to see these guys back running a handful of races this year. It's made a huge announcement that that team's going to be running LMP2 over in the American Le Mans Series for the remainder of the year and next, whatever we determine the new prototype top tier will be. So exciting times at ESM. Look at this, takes the position easily. Those Ferraris look tough, Doss.
They are awful good cars, there's no doubt about it.
That's Lee Keen in the 59 Brumos Porsche, and it's not over yet.
Just behind these guys is where the argy-bargy went on. There was about 4 cars racing for this position. Now there's only 2.
This is for second in GT.
I think it's just going to be a matter of time, though, Bob. That Ferrari looks much stronger. Lee Keen hanging on, doing a great job.
And meanwhile, here comes Rojas, the race leader.
That's where the downforce takes over through these high-speed sections. You can see the DP just take off in these GT machines. And they run a lot flatter platform as well with the Daytona prototype. You can see the roll that's incorporated in these GTs.
You know, it's good, though, to have a multi-class race here because of the nature of this racetrack. These GT cars and the fact that they have to be dealt with make the Daytona prototypes have an advantage on one another or lose an advantage to one another.
There's Angelelli. He's trying to get through cleanly as well. Very patient race by Max Angelelli. We don't always see that. But,
you mean by his standards?
We're not to the end yet either.
Yeah.
Look at this. Here's a prime example.
Van Overbeek gets the position back once again. Up to second. The Ferraris run 1, 2, and 4. Jeff Siegel, co-champion last year. He's coming up into the mix.
No, that's not it. Sorry.
Look at this. Look at the 5 and the 99. Fittipaldi and Gurney. Once again, Fittipaldi taking the inside line all the way down the straightaway. He's been warned about blocking.
This is for third.
Oh, and he pushes Gurney wide out around the outside. We'll see what happens with that.
Pizzoni are looking for a way through as well. We're on board with him right now. This is just great action. Oh, look at that. The 8 car is through.
And he's going to push this car off the
young
side.
Kiwi, Brendan Hartley. What a performance by him.
Hartley's been turning good lap times. Look at him on the front straight now, that front straight. But he has been running some good numbers, too. We haven't said that.
Ironically, he used to be a development driver for the Red Bull team, and he's just passed the car that is supported by Red Bull.
Let's get more on the young New Zealander with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob, that car was 1 lap down at the beginning of this race because Scott Mayer, his teammate, has a wrist injury this weekend from a basketball game. So they went down a lap early, but got back on the lead lap after that caution. And since then, Hartley has just been on the money. He is a Formula One test driver for Mercedes in their simulator. So out of all the drivers here, he probably has the most time on this racetrack. However, it's all in the simulator.
You can hear Chris's voice almost drowned out as this pack of snarling race cars came off turn 20 and roared up the front straightaway. There must have been 15 of them in a bunch.
That's an angry little group there. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of testosterone in that group.
What a race we are seeing here today. Christian Fittipaldi hanging on to that third place right now, feeling the heat from Alex Gurney. Hartley's there, Pizzonia's in the mix.
I'm impressed with this. It's really good.
And here's your man,
new guy,
Randy Al. What a season he had last year.
New blood for this series is good, and these guys are top-notch drivers, no doubt about it. This is good equipment as well.
Dial had 21 podiums from 27 races in 2012, winning a lot of the big classic endurance races. Didn't have the best of Daytonas, but he's now on the tail end of this pack.
Sun beginning to go low in the sky over the circuit of the Americas and on this part of the racetrack.
Look at this,
It's
Westy.
in their eyes.
Westy getting pushed way over.
Negri is struggling a little bit. This has to be his foot injury.
Yeah, I believe it is. Oh, and look at that. 3 cars just about all touched.
Actually, it's still Ricky Taylor. They haven't changed drivers yet. Westy's still standing by, waiting. It's still Ricky Taylor behind the wheel of the 90, understanding that they are close to their pit stop where they'll see that first driver change of the day.
Now, in a crowd of cars like this, you have to be careful about setting up for your pit stop.
Yeah.
You have to make a clear move to the pit lane. You can't wait till the last second and dive in.
There's some dotted white lines right before then. They were talked to in the drivers' meeting to let everybody around them know and to get into that pit lane early. Don't cut across with people coming up the inside.
There's the pit in.
Not this time.
19 laps on the board. Ricky Taylor right now, and the DP should be able to go 24 to 26. So it's really, if you know you're going to have to make another stop, do you match the tire change to your refueling rather than waiting on the tires for the last stop? So there's a number of ways to play in this game and cutting the cake to finish this race out. This young man, as Chris alluded to, Brendan Hartley, been very impressive. Peter Barron really has a lot of praise for this young driver. Really wants to give him a shot here.
Whoa,
Look at this.
That was another curb incident where they jumped the 6 off the top of the curb and it just took off. They passed Alessandro Balzan, the leader in GT, and he let that happen, and he's got out where nobody got caught out. It was a pretty good piece of driving on his part. Very heads up.
The key is recognizing you've got these runoff areas, Dorsey. If you try and pinch it, we're seeing some accidents here this weekend where drivers haven't really utilized that opportunity to use the runoff area when you have a moment just to drive straight through, gather it all back up. If you try and keep it on the racetrack, you're going to throw it in the fence the other side.
I like the fact that he saw it coming and he found a way to avoid the problem.
Back to our race leader, Memo Rojas of Mexico.
Done a beautiful job here today. Got a little bit fought there for a while when he was trying to get to the front, duking it out with Christian Fittipaldi, but the car has been excellent.
So much more confidence behind the wheel now.
He's got a half second on one of the best in the business, Max Angelelli. And then it's a big gap back to third place Christian Fittipaldi, who's in a battle of his own with Alex Gurney. There are your leaders in class. We'll be back to Austin.
Somebody had to have some real guts to build this place out here, but it is phenomenal, fantastic, way over the top.
Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is presented by Rolex. Brought to you in part by Royal Purple, the performance oil that outperforms, and by Continental Tire, innovative technology, driving confidence. All over the city of Austin, Texas, you see it on t-shirts and bumper stickers, the unofficial city motto, which is Keep Austin Weird. Well, pretty soon they're going to be saying, if you come to Austin, plan to visit the Circuit of the Americas for world-class racing. Formula One, the Grand Am Rolex Series, the MotoGP World Championship, V8 Supercars, you name it, it'll all be here for you year-round.
You like weird.
I tell you what, certainly the lap times on a Formula One machine are impressive. And we see Fittipaldi in, so we're starting to see the dominoes fall now. Some of these leaders not stretching their fuel all the way, kind of slicing the cake here to get to the finish. We'll have to pit lane once again after this stop that we're seeing on Christian Fittipaldi as we get a ton of caution. So things starting to shake out now.
Pizzonia in the number 6 right behind him.
These guys thinking about track position when it comes down to the end while they're pulling these early pit stops.
Well, the other thing is, Dorsey, if you just run out of fuel, that last stop will be tires. You'll be waiting on the tires. You might as well match the fueling to the tires a little bit better.
Yep, in other words, short fill and get those tires. Impressive display of driving today. I love this racetrack, first of all, but these guys doing a really good job on it as well.
And they know so much more about this racetrack after these green flag laps than they saw throughout practice and qualifying even, because there's a totally different deal with other cars out there. What a performance here. This is awesome stuff. Waiting on the top up for fuel. Oh, he stalls it.
Come on, fire. These things are tough to refire when they're hot like this.
That is precious seconds, and he was in the thick of a battle. That'll have an effect in terms of where he comes out with the cars he was battling against. That's a shame.
Yes, it is.
So on the 90 car, there was a problem there on the Jackman. Let the car down too early when Ricky Taylor turned it over to Richard Westbrook in a break.
Speaking of Ricky Taylor, he's with Brian Till.
Ricky Taylor climbed out of the 90 Spirit of Daytona Corvette last time by, and Ricky, the car really seemed to have some pretty good pace in qualifying, but in the latter stages of this race, has the weather changed the balance of that 90 out there right now?
It's actually quite similar to what it was like in qualifying, which is major oversteer. The first stint, really struggling. We had good track position. Luckily, Rolex forced everybody out the way for me. But second stint, we made a little change with the tire pressures, and our Visit Florida car is excellent. I think Richard has a really good car underneath him. Definitely some good GoPro footage. I think we got out there with a lot of beating and banging. But I think if we're in clean air and we get some good track position, we got a car to win.
Some of the beating and banging was, I think, Taylor versus Taylor a little bit early in the going. I asked your brother what dinner was going to be like tonight. He said it might be a little bit awkward.
Maybe, but shouldn't the older brother get a little bit of favors, maybe? I don't know.
Sibling rivalry. Here we go, guys.
Depends on how much older is, the way I look at it.
Yeah, maybe he needs to look out for the younger brother.
The older brother is only 23, by the way, Ricky, and Jordan's 21.
That's
so
what I
youngsters.
Here is Calvin Fish golfing partner, Richard Westbrook.
He'll have fun tomorrow, but he's got a serious thing to get sorted right now. He's getting that 90 car to the front. Meanwhile, another of the Shank cars is in.
It's routine right here, getting tires all the way around.
Fresh Continental tires going on. Negri's going to be hurting at the end of this one. This is a long double stint for him with a foot injury. Just waiting on fuel. There he goes.
Oh, he stalled it too.
Another problem.
Fuel tanks are a little bit smaller for the sprint race part of the year. 20 gallons at Daytona, 18.5 on these Daytona prototypes for the remainder of the season.
That one fired up right away. That's the difference. It didn't really cost him badly.
He's got to get these Continental tires up to temperature. Here comes his teammate, Pizzonia, right behind him. And you could see that little problem that Pizzonia had cost him position here.
I doubt he's going to let his teammate lead.
There's your GT leader, the 63 Ferrari of Alessandro Balzan.
Doing a great job of driving. He's really heads up with these cars around him. That's what I really like. I mean, the fact that he's outrunning everybody is one thing, but he's got the heads-up display to be able to see all these prototypes coming in, to weave in and weave out, let them all happen.
How strong are these Ferraris? Well, they currently run 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, they're strong.
Lazaro back in 6th. That's a great effort by the 69 team after the major crash damage they had from yesterday's incident with the Mila Sentado down in turn 3. So great job by the A Motorsport team getting both cars back into the action here today.
We'll take another break as the sun grows ever lower. Shadows all the way across the front straightaway from the grandstand. There are your leaders in class as you watch Stefan Sarazan in his office here at Circuit of the Americas. There's your GT class leader in the pit lane. We expect the overall and DP leader in as well.
Balzan's been flawless as we see. Hopefully the picture do the same thing.
Guidi getting in the car now. Fresh set of Continental tires going on, of course, and all of these guys are going to be a little bit light to get to the finish. Brian's on the spot. What are you seeing, Brian, with our leader?
It is all routine down here and not a mark on this 458 Ferrari. Balzan has been absolutely perfect. Scuderia Corsa last year at Monterey, Laguna Seca, was fantastic, and this team really showing the experience and the strength they have. He's underway now. Daytona prototypes coming in.
Yeah, 0-1. Stretching it to 26 lap run here for Memo Rojas. Just a beautifully executed race. So there's an hour and 5 to go. So they'll be about 15 minutes shy on fuel. Pruitt ready to see his first action of the day. Remember, he had that foot injury at Daytona. He said, I'm fine, I got a shot, I'm feeling good. Brian?
The job that Memo Rojas has done has been nothing short of fantastic. The start and then never putting a wheel wrong. This car has been perfect for them all day long. It should be a routine stop, but once again, the race has come to pit road because right behind the 0-1, the 10 is in doing their stop, Chris.
Well, Brendan Hartley getting 4 fresh Continental tires, a full load of fuel. This young driver, the first time he drove a car with a roof over his head was Daytona, stalling the car here, trying to come out of pit lane. Actually, I think he got a little bit overexcited there when they dropped the car because they weren't on fuel. So he tried to accelerate off a little bit too soon there. Talking with Brendan this week, and I said earlier how he's a simulator driver for Formula One, the Mercedes team. He told me he spends about 30 hours a week in that simulator working with typically 7 engineers.
What action we're seeing here. The 10 car once again beat the all-1 car. And hits the curb, loses the nose cone. Pruitt trying to get back on Angelelli, hits the curb, nose is gone.
Big air, too. That car was airborne big time.
And that battle began from the moment the two of them came off the pit lane. They drag raced. Finally, Pruitt fell in line and then started looking for a way by before it all went.
Angelelli got up to turn 1, too much speed, could not get turned, and Pruitt tried to get underneath them.
Both on cold tires. Those Continentals weren't up to temperature yet, and Pruitt very aggressive trying to hold that position. This has cost him dearly. Is there any damage to the splitter or the suspension? Let's take a look at it.
Watch the height of Pruitt's car when he hits this curb.
It's squeezed there by Angelelli. He has to take to the curb, and he just leaps it. Hits those little sleeping policemen, as you called them, Bob, and he goes for a ride.
Took the right side mirror off as well.
Surprised it didn't do the under tray or the splitter, Calvin. I mean, it kind of center punched that curbing.
Once again, this situation came down to the 0-1 was coming in the pits before the 10 car, but the 10 car once again executed. I spoke to Travis Hogue yesterday, who's the car chief on the 10 car. I said, you guys just getting quicker fuel flow?
Cut that wire off the mirror.
And the radio communication between the Ganassi boys, he said, no, it's just we're really hard at getting that fuel hose connected quickly, and that's saving us precious tenths of a second. And you can see it in terms of the execution of the pit stop. They're getting out their pit box first.
They were talking about right there was to get a pair of side cutters to come and cut that electrical mirrors being held on by the electric signal.
This is where the best in the business. When you're throwing a curveball, how do you deal with it? They need to get this back in the game because remember, it's a very long lap here, so Pruitt should not go down a lap by this fix unless the splitter is damaged. Then it is a lengthy repair.
Or the connecting points or something needs repair.
If they get away with a nose only, they're really lucky.
Watch this.
That's how it began.
They've got to top them up, and the 10 car gets released first. Angelelli's away. Pruitt wheel spinning out of the box, fights him hard all the way down pit lane, and that continued. Angelelli gets in really deep, gets really wide on the cold tires. Here's Pruitt.
Ryan?
Mirror comes off as Pruitt comes to a stop. What I'm noticing right now is the left front of the splitter lower than the right side. So I don't know if there's unforeseen damage or unseen damage, I should say, up underneath that splitter where it joins the top of this car. But the crew going to work, they've got to get the lights hooked back up, clip the wires that are a problem, and then get the new nose back on. They won't worry about hooking up the lights. The question, though, is, are the support for the front splitter, is that going to be a problem? Because it is not level across the front right now.
Not happy with the fit on this. They put bear bond across some of the splitters.
I'll tell you what, that bear bond over those grill louvers, that'll have an effect too.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what I was talking about, those air extractors.
It's going to take some downforce away. By extracting the air, it actually gains downforce on the front by closing those gaps up. It kind of lifts the nose a little bit, so that will change the balance of the race car for sure.
Key moment of the race with about an hour and a minute to run. Here it is again.
Wow, that is high-speed action there down through the S's. Pruitt was going for it, and there was just no room there. You really can't blame Angelelli. He didn't really close the door. He just ran. You thread the needle through there, Dorsey. It's really one line.
You know, Pruitt's right front tire was in jeopardy of going up on top of the bodywork, which would have sent him airborne. He was lucky. It almost did get up on top of Max's car.
So we'll be watching his lap times.
I just can't believe, you know, that car is not hurt beyond just the nose. That was a big That was a really rough hit to send it
sure
up in the
Scott
air.
Pruitt is trying to figure out what he's got under him right now.
Remember, Angelelli had been behind the wheel, Bob. Pruitt had just got in, so that was his first lap. Very aggressive move by Scott Pruitt. I love it. He's going for it. He's racing hard, but cost him dearly.
You're right. Well, there's a little smoke right there, so we got some body rubbing going on. They'll have to look at that so they don't cut down a tire. He's trying to assess the car under him. Nobody better than Pruitt to do that. These guys are talking on the radio and saying we can't leave the front end like this. Oh no, look, it's really
more of that bouncing.
Very unhappy car right now.
Gordon McDonald there from BMW's the new BMW Motorsport box, talking to Memo Rojas, who looks thoroughly disgusted. He'd done such a brilliant job. He can't believe the turn of events here.
Some of this could be tire pressure still, Calvin, being low. All that porpoising is not good. I don't think the 10's hurt at all.
I don't think so. He's loving the fact he's out front. So right now, just to reset, Angelelli at the front, DL and Gurnley second and third. Hartley still in the mix in fourth, Bob.
Then Christian Fittipaldi in fifth.
Smoking's gone away. That's not too bad. It could have just rubbed a little bit and cleared some clearance for itself. But
Pruitt will be feeling this out.
He's really good at that.
Well, you've been doing it as long as 52-year-old Scott Pruitt has, including a record-tying 5 overall victories, the Rolex 24 at Daytona, and a raft of championships all the way down to gosh knows how many when he was a star of American karting.
Looking at the sector times, Bob, we can't really see a lap time yet on Pruitt, but he was a second off through the second sector and a second off through the third sector of this racetrack. That's probably an indicator that all is not well right now with the car, unless he's just adjusting.
Guys, when Scott Pruitt left the pits here, I did not see a single fastener on that nose closed up. Now, it latches in place somewhat, but there are about 4 or 5, maybe 6 fasteners across the front of it from wheel well to wheel well. I did not see a single one of them pinned, and once again, the nose very low on the left front. That's where the contact with that curbing really was on the left side of that car. I don't think the 01 as well. The crew set up with a lot of bare bond on the wall, basically giant pieces of duct tape to try to help attach that nose if Scott Pruitt feels like he's got to come back in.
Still looking at sector times, Brian, though. Pruitt just ran a 17.7, which is close to the leader's pace in sector 2, so maybe he's adjusting and getting a feel for it.
But I think the bare bond is the only thing holding that nose, and that's not
that's
good.
what I meant when I mentioned the mounting points. Boy, oh boy, poor Memo Rojas looks inconsolable on the pit wall. This race is long from over. We'll be back to the Circuit of the Americas.
Round 2 of the 2013 Rolex Sports Car Series continues from Circuit of the Americas. Memo Rojas just climbed out of the 01 Chip Ganassi BMW Riley. And Memo, we got some good and bad today. Let's talk about the good first. Your drive, that first 2 stints you did, was absolutely phenomenal. How's the traffic on the racetrack?
It's tough. I mean, staying out of trouble is not easy, obviously. And we had a great car. I mean, we worked really hard with our engineer, John Hennick, this weekend. And every step we took setup was forward, and we managed to improve the car even for the race. So we had a strong car. We had a good run out there, and unfortunately, you know what happened once Scott got going. It's a shame because we had a really good car today.
I was going to say, you saw the damage to the front. They got that new nose on. You've driven damaged cars before. What does a driver have to do to adapt to a car that may not be absolutely perfect underneath him?
I mean, you do everything you can. You ride curves. You use the wheel, you use the pedals, you do everything you can to turn the car. I'm not sure if the car is really damaged. It was just body work damage that we replaced, so hopefully it's not bad. We could use a yellow flag, you know, to get packed up again, but you know, we don't know if at this point we're gonna get it.
They've got one of the most experienced Daytona prototype drivers behind the wheel in Scott Pruitt.
And looking at those pictures again, you wonder if Scott realized how much damage that extra speed bump on the inside of the curbing was going to do to the car. Not that there was anywhere he could have avoided it. Now, more news involving the Gainesco, number 99 Red Dragon, Chris Neville.
Yeah, Bob, we're popping in that final window for pit stops, and the Gainsco team not having any radio contact with Alex Gurney, so they've been trying to figure out how to get Alex into pit lane for that final stop. They finally talked to the series, and the series is going to black flag him on the front straightaway here, and then hopefully Alex will be able to bring the Red Dragon into pit lane and fuel that car up for the final run.
You may wonder why after only 6 laps since he is last on pit lane would they pit right now. What you want to do, as soon as you hit that window where you can get to the end of the race, you want to pit then, because if it goes yellow, pits are closed. So if you can do that, then everyone else gets caught out by yellow. You suddenly leapfrog to the front, and they want to be able to tell Alex that information, and right now they cannot over the radio.
To clarify that, they've actually gone to the officials and say, black flag our car. This is very unusual, I have to tell you, because a black flag means bring the car in. But if they have no other communication, you have to do that. On the other side, isn't that helping their team out a little bit by doing that?
Now, as you as a driver, you're sitting in the car, you're getting no information over the radio. When would you begin to think something's not right here?
Well, you know, you mess around with it for a while, see if you can fix it yourself, and you probably can't, or you would have. And you just saw right there, not only is there a black flag, but they've got another big spin here.
Oh, damage there to the left rear corner. That was from the contact with Richard Westbrook just a short while ago.
He's got a left side down.
Now he's got a flat left, yeah. Now let's take a look at the incident that Calvin just referred to involving Oswaldo Negri and Richard Westbrook.
There we see it down into 15.
Yeah,
Westy gets getting really deep, turns him around. He's going to get a stop and hold penalty for the action. And then we can see that there's damage to the rear of the car. The left rear is broken, Dorsey, it looks like. There's definitely a skew there, and he lost the rear end of the car and turns it around.
Tire was completely down and off, and the car was trying to come out of there. But like you say, Westy's going to get that. Now this is consistent. It's a stop and go plus 60. Every car that's turned anybody else around today's had the same penalty.
And as you saw the GX results go across your screen, you saw that the leading car is that 38 Porsche Cayman in the hands of Jeff Mosing. I mentioned that because Jeff is a local Austin driver. So congratulations to him and his home event, leading the GX class.
Yeah, he's a local auto dealership, sells old American muscle cars. And a great story with his teammate, Jim Norman, who won the Rolex by winning for Napleton Porsche at Daytona. He took it in the next day as Rolex walks to have the link taken out. Guy said, give me $10, that'll work. He said, I can't believe you're doing it so cheap. He said, well, it would be a lot more expensive if it was a real Rolex. And it turned into a real confrontation with the guy coming out from behind the counter, banging chest like, I won this yesterday at Daytona. It was a pretty funny story.
You know what I had to go through to get this
He
one?
said, Rolex gave it to me. Of course it's real.
That's right. That's great.
The old jeweler wanted to beat him up over it.
How dare you? There is the car. The 99 is in. Chris Neville's there.
Yeah, Bob, it worked. That black flag worked. They're going to do fuel. No Continental tires this run. But, man, looking at the Red Dragon, it is beaten and battered. This front nose cracked on the left side. The dive plate on the right side all broken up. It is definitely in a fight out there.
Yeah, only 8 laps. That's why they didn't take tires. That would have cost them time on pit lane. So that worked perfectly in terms of executing. 60 car is stranded. Now, if we call a caution right now, that is the perfect strategy for the number 99 because they've made their pit stop, stayed on the lead lap. The others would have to wait for the pits to open.
Yeah, we're here. He's sitting there waiting for a clear spot on the racetrack. I don't believe that myself.
Well, he's still in a precarious place.
He's in a really bad place because he's at the track out of that. If somebody went a little wide, got over the curb, he'd be right in the back of him.
Pizzonia, his teammate, is in, so they're trying to play this strategy. I think anyone who's up front in this pack, you need to pit now. Take advantage, or if it goes yellow, you've already got that pit stop out of the way.
No left rear on that car, and he's going to leave it there.
This is dangerous times for our leader right now because the other guys can make that pit stop. He's got to wait until he gets around there, and if it goes yellow before he does, pit lane would be closed.
Yeah, there it is,
car. We're hearing it. That kills Angelelli. The 99 car is going to be in great shape. Pizzonia also got in and out.
Our second full course caution of the race. And it could hardly have come at a worse time for the race leader.
Looked like the 01 just hit pit lane. The question is, did he hit pit lane before the pit lane was closed? Brian's on the spot.
Air bond being applied to the front end, to the nose, in many more places than it was before. Top it with fuel.
Well, we'll have to see how this shakes out. Did Scott Pruitt commit to the pit lane before the full course yellow was called?
It had to be very close.
Boy, this is going to change the complexity of the whole race now.
Oh, you got that right.
Wow. There's going to be some shuffling, and these guys really got hurt. They're going to need, unless this caution is a lengthy one, that shouldn't be, because I should be pulled in very quickly.
Now that the caution's out, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if he doesn't just drive it. Just saying.
Well, the plot thickens here at Circuit of the Americas. Our second yellow flag with less than 48 minutes remaining. Everybody will fuel tire up and be ready to race in a moment. But where will they start when the green flag waves? Back to live action as the 10-car pits and out. And the pits are closed at the exit. We are back here in Austin, Texas, home of the South by Southwest Film Festival, Austin City Limits, the UT Longhorns, and on and on. And now the home of the Circuit of the Americas, just one of the many charms of this town. And if you look quickly in that sequence of shots about all the good things about Austin, you notice the name of a very famous local beanery. So we sent our culinary expert, Dorsey Schrader, to check it out.
Well, when I told the boys back home that went to the Formula One race that I was coming to the Circuit of Americas, they said, Dorsey, you got to go to Wild Bubba's Wild Game Grill. What I found out was it wasn't very hard to find. It's just outside the racetrack. Well, what else I found out? It wasn't very hard to find Wild Bubba himself. Wild Bubba, how did you get started in this endeavor?
Well, you know, I've been in the restaurant business and the hotel business all my life. And I had a restaurant in Houston back in the 80s. We sold buffalo burgers. I think we introduced Wild Game. So when we came to Austin, I said, well, you know, Austin's lacking that down-home Texas wild game attitude.
Well, I hear you introduce the Formula One crowd to some of your great food, and they really enjoy it.
I think everybody associated with Formula One from across the globe has been to my restaurant, Wild Bubba's, here in Speed City. Everybody but Bernie, and I keep telling Bernie, hop on over for a kangaroo burger.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, Bubba. But the rest of us are happy to go there. And I mean, on the Formula One weekend back in November, everybody went to Wild Bubba's.
It's a good burger.
It was good.
Yeah, it was spectacular.
Yak burger.
Yak burger.
You had yak with blue cheese.
Sounds about right for you.
Did Bernie ask me, do you think Bernie will come?
No. I don't think so. He also caters right here at the racetrack. So if you don't make it over to scenic downtown Elroy, Texas, you can come here to the racetrack and enjoy Wild Bubba's.
Tell you what, the big crowd that's here today, and it doesn't look big in the grandstands because they're all walking around everywhere. And one of the places walking is over to Bubba's, one of his two grandstands here. He's got them all over the place.
Absolutely. And all of that wild game is raised here in Texas. He's a stickler about that.
He's a character is what he is.
Now, during the break, that pit stop for Scott Pruitt, who came in just as the double yellow came out, was confirmed as a legitimate stop. So no problem there. But boy, oh boy, does this throw everybody's race plan up in the air. Here's the visual evidence. Pruitt in the pit lane, flag.
Not out yet.
Not out yet.
He's on pit lane.
Yeah, you can't get any more.
Yeah, so he was well inside, so that wasn't even close. We couldn't really tell. We saw the caution came up on our screen, but what has happened here is we saw Angelelli make his pit stop. He was the leader at the time. Ryan Dial got stacked up behind him. They will get shuffled back in this pack. So guys like Gurney, who had got that pit stop made, that's what you talk about. You've got to back time these races. As soon as that window opens where you can make it to the finish, if you're the first to pit, you can take an advantage from when it goes full course caution like this. So a lot to play for. How strong is Pruitt's car going to be? He's going to be shuffling all the way back up here. I think he'll stack up almost right behind Alex Gurney. So this is going to be interesting to see how strong and how effective that 01 can be with all of that beer bond and repair to the front bodywork.
I think it's going to be okay, believe it or not. They got it back in there and they put some more bear bond on, did a little bit better assessment of the damage. I don't think there is any chassis damage. We saw some good lap times out of him. Remember, though, one of the factors they'll play to with less than 35 minutes to go when they get the green is that sun. It was bad before, but it's getting a lot worse.
Brendan Hartley, I believe, may have taken a bit of a gamble right now. On our timing, the score is not showing that Brendan Hartley in the number 8 Starworks machine made a pit stop, so they may be gambling on getting another yellow and stretching their fuel far enough so he could be in good shape as well.
You think it's going to get aggressive?
You bet. I mean, it's been aggressive right from the get-go, let alone the last few laps. So they've been finding their way around this racetrack, finding out where you can pass, and at the end they may find out where you can't pass.
So the order right now is Angelelli, Hartley, Dial, Gurney, Pizzonia, and Pruitt, but that'll all change when they cross the start-finish line. 63 hits the pit lane.
Well, this is all the GT cars now making their pit stop.
Right.
Regulations state everyone has to be packed up, then it's DPs first, then on the next open lap is GTs. Brian Till is with our GT leader.
Alessandro Pierguidi to the marks. No tires this time. It's just going to be fuel. It was a time stop on the Daytona prototypes. My tongue's not working today, guys. I don't know. Maybe I need to go to Wild Bubba's afterwards. But fuel only here, and the Ferraris have been so good on tires in every racetrack we go to, but especially on the smooth asphalt surface here at Circuit of the Americas. The rest of the field behind him, 59, good stop. The Brumos Porsche up behind the 63 at pit out.
Really tight there with the 61 and the 69, which kind of askew. I think they had to line up not completely straight because of their sister car, and then it was tight for Jeff Siegel to get out of his pit box.
And now that the Daytona prototypes have passed start-finish in the timing line, the order is Hartley on the point, thanks to that non-stop, as Calvin mentioned. Then Alex Gurney, Pizzonia, Pruitt, Angelelli now right behind Pruitt. That ought to be interesting. Then Dial, Cameron, Fittipaldi, Janssen, and Sarazan in the number 3 car in the 10 spot. Another break coming up as we get set to go green. With a little over a half hour remaining, I would guess, when the green flag finally waves. Return with us to find out. Just about ready to go green here at the Grand Am of the Americas, presented by Gainsco and Total. As we get set to go green, Chris Neville with more on the 8 car that leads.
Well, as we see the green flag come down, that is the one car that didn't come to pit lane. The team thinking that they can make it at this point. Even if we don't get a caution, they told Brendan Hartley, you can start with a rich map, fuel map, to try and pull a gap. But once you do that, right now, whoa, we see the 90 car trying to go around the outside. Both cars still door to door as they go into the S's, and now it looks like Hartley's going to pull a little bit of a lead here. But the team told him, run that rich map for maybe a couple laps, pull a gap, and then we're going to have to lean you out.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I tell you what, Westbrook was really pushing hard there because he wanted to get back on that lead lap. Remember the penalty he got for taking out Oz Negri? That was his opportunity to get back on the lead lap. If he had another caution, he'd be back in the game. It didn't quite work out, however. Hartley was defending. Maybe he didn't know that Westbrook was a lap down.
All right, didn't want him to get it back, one or the other. They fought pretty hard as they did. They saw a lot of lockup, tire smoke. Everybody made it through clean, and I think this will get pretty aggressive here.
Less than 30 minutes to go now. I'm sure everybody had a plan for the green flag. We don't know yet if it worked out, but that timing of that yellow flag changed everything.
And look at this sun. It's a major factor this time of day. Going down this back straight, remember, 162 miles an hour into a brake zone you can't see.
It's going to be awfully tough, and it's going to be awfully tough to judge an outbraking maneuver. Here we see Angelelli a bit further back in the pack. He was our leader before we had that caution when the pits were closed. The 2 car of Ryan Dial goes by.
That's right. Into 5th place goes Ryan Dial. So the order is Hartley, Gurney, Pizzonia, Pruitt, Dial, Angelelli.
And you got to wonder if that was on Max's part. He just really couldn't even see what was going on. That's the problem. You're squinting, and there's cars around you in close proximity. You really can't tell where they are.
So what's the best thing to do? Just hold your line and hope.
Put your elbows out.
Yep. Hope you don't get nailed.
Remember, for Alex Gurney currently running in 2nd, they went the complete 2012 season without a victory. That is hard to say for that team. Look at this. Pruitt looks to the inside of Westbrook. He's got to be really careful here, Westy, because he is a lap down. This is a tough place to be for him. He's got to get the hammer down. He's got to try and get that lap back. We're hearing that Jeff Siegel, who's right up in the front of this GT pack, has got a problem.
Oh, it looks like right front down on that car as he's limps along, trying to get back to pit lane.
He was 6th in class, but that's going to change, obviously.
It's been one of the savviest drivers in the GT world for a number of years. Two-time champion now last year, and back in 2010 with his regular co-driver Emil Asentado, he switched over to the other car for this year. And this is the 44 car leading GT. What a day for them. They got advantage too. They pitted just before that caution, so they leapfrogged to the front, but I'm not sure they're going to have the pace.
Yeah, that's the first time that car's led all day. Andy Lally behind the wheel. If anybody can hold it there, Andy could do it. But I don't know if it's got the pace either, Calvin. There's some strong Ferraris, and they're coming forward.
That Stevenson car is not for position right behind him. That's the second place car right now, the 72 car of Mike Skeen with the locally based Park Place Motorsport team.
Based out of Dallas, Texas, the performance division of a large Porsche dealership up there. Is it due to contact?
Yeah, I think he just pinched himself off trying to stay off the Audi and spun the car.
There's the 63 of Alessandro Perguidi, shown third in class right now. Mike Skeen just ahead in second, and Andy Lally in the 44 leads the class. Let's go to Brian Till.
Alessandro Balzan made his debut last year at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca by qualifying on the pole. But then today, the performance that you guys have had has been spectacular. You got out of the car, it didn't even look like you were sweating. Just how good is that Ferrari at this racetrack?
Yeah, really, the 63 by Scuderia Corsa was amazing to drive and qualifying in Laguna. And here was also better. I really love this circuit in Texas. I really feel a lot of emotion. And the racetrack is good, but now Alex, my teammate, is named my same name. You have to push because Porsche has a different strategy about fuel. So finger crossed because it will be not so easy like it seems. We are a very good car, but to get the first position will be very hard to fight.
He's enjoying our coverage as well. He's pulled his chair down in front of one of the big screens so he can watch the rest of the race to the checkers.
They like the picture. They got one of those spots. His teammate is up to second, but look at this thrash in the DP ranks. This is fast and furious, Dorsey, down through these S's.
Yeah, these guys are able to run down through here single file like this with no problem. But you know what's going to change all this is when they catch up at the back of that GT field, it's going to get fast and furious. Who can get through? Who can't? Watch it. Speaking of which, this is the 69 Ferrari you're riding with.
Watch the 52, the Audi GT car on the right side of your screen. In it comes, and around he goes.
It's like you've seen those police chases.
Yeah.
Turned him nicely. To see how that one works out. Coming off a strong podium finish at the Daytona 24-hour race. Hartley continues to lead for Starworks, running the gamble. Have they got enough fuel on board? Gurney's in good shape for fuel. The 6-car Pizzoni is so impressive here today. Can they get a podium or better?
Pruitt just behind, hoping to get past the lapped number 90 of Richard Westbrook.
And Wesley's not going to make that easy. You see how hard he's fighting right now. I mean, he wants another caution so he can get a shot at another restart, try to get that lap back.
Tough scenario to be in, though, for Westy, though, because, he had the shot at the initial restart. Now he's buried in this pack of cars who are fighting for position, and he's a lap down. Here we see Max Angelelli. He's now caught up to the tail end of this little pack. Took a while for that 10 car to come up to speed, it seemed, after that restart.
They'll allow you to race a lap down like this for a while, and then there'll be a call sooner or later made that Westy will probably have to let these guys racing for position have that leeway there.
While the battle continues, let's get more on the leader's fuel situation with Chris.
Yeah, we can see Brandon Hartley's pulled about a 2-car length gap over the 99, and the team has told him, okay, Brandon, that's great. Now we need you to run that fuel number because they're watching that on the telemetry, so they're asking him to short shift and also get on and off the throttle nice and easy. They haven't spent a lot of time with this driver, so they're still really trying to teach them about this car and how to save fuel.
I like this strategy, though, because the amount of fuel that he will have saved under caution, they're going to be really close to making it, as Chris said, even without another caution. If he can just manage it, roll off the throttle into the corners, he's going to be really close, Dorsey.
On the other hand, I think he'll get a caution the way it's going. Long way to go, though. Traffic. What I'm talking about. That traffic is so crucial at this racetrack. And now with the sun, it's even harder yet because you can't see everything you could before.
Sure. So Pruitt there hounding. He's settling in. He'll be making adjustments. Just trying to dial that 0-1 car and see what you can pull out of the bag here. It's all about recovering from a curveball, and that's what the 01 team are best at. They are just so perfectly executed. When they have drama, they don't panic. They just make the right calls, get the car back in the game. They're doing it here today. Angelelli's moved up. He's got around DL for position.
Yep, that was for 5th.
This car's been tough here today, and the crew once again have been flawless. Really good execution. They have had dynamite pit stops at the 24 and here. Now Pruitt's all over the back of Pitsonia
for 3rd. "22 minutes and change remaining. Another break coming up. We won't let you miss a thing. We'll be back with more of the Rolex Grand Am of the Americas here on Speed. There are your top 5 in each class. Back in the fading light of an early March weekend at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till, and Chris Neville. I'm Bob Varsha. Less than 20 minutes remaining in round 2 of the Rolex Sports Car Series for 2013. And the crews can only stand on the pit wall and watch. They've done their work. It's up to the drivers with less than 20 to go.
Andy Lally, they had such a strong car at the 24-hour run, ran the lead with multiple laps, but didn't come out with a win. They're bitterly disappointed, but remember, inaugural events, they won at Indianapolis last year, so they'd love to do the same thing here at Coda, but it's going to be a tough battle with that Ferrari. Here we see Lee Key coming under pressure from Anthony Lazaro. Orbelin has cleared him. Orbelin is really quick, got a win here this morning in Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge competition with Paul Dallalana. He's had a double victory before a couple of years ago at Homestead. Can he do it again here today? He has a strong BMW.
That being said, the speed of this GT field has been always the Ferrari at the front. So this is some car control. Anthony Lazaro with a power oversteer, power slide onto the front straight.
That's pretty cool.
Hammer down, never lift. What a weekend for that team. After that big crash, getting ready for qualifying.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is recovering, Bob, and getting points on a weekend like this. And that was a brilliant performance by that team. That car was literally scattered across the garage last night as they tore it apart and went through it as best they could. They said it wouldn't be pretty come race day, but we'll be there, and they certainly are, and very effective as well.
Well, they cut the left side all the way down. The right, left rear took most of it. Look at the sun now, guys. It's not just at the end of the straightaway. You got to drive all the way down at 162 miles an hour.
Imagine when you're trying to judge in that braking maneuver down into this sunlight here.
I mean, you really can't tell how many cars are there. You see the one directly in front of you, but are there more?
And that's exactly what it looks like. We were out in safety cars yesterday right about this time, and that is exactly what it looks like from the driver's seat. Well, we got a spinner. Is that the 60?
I think so. It's not in a good spot.
I think it's the 6, surely.
Could be. There we go.
Well, 60's done. It must be the 6.
6.
Okay, who turned him around? Pruitt was running 4th. He was running 3rd as they crossed the stripe. Merely a 10th apart. Let's have a look and see what happens here.
Well, now we know who's behind him. I think I know the answer to the question.
Pruitt's down on the inside. Oh, it's going to be Angelelli who turns him.
It is.
Pruitt cleared him nicely. Pizzoni's done a great job here today by keeping it clean, but here you can see he gives Pruitt enough room. Just good hard racing here.
Three different lines into the corner.
Boy, you know what? This is probably going to give Max a penalty. He's not going to be happy about it.
This day has really gone wrong when they had it all in hand at seam. Let's take another look at it. On board here with Pitsonia. Watch Pruitt duck to the left. There's the pit lane exit there that you can use as well. We saw Fittipaldi push cars over there earlier in the race. There's enough room to get it done.
See, he knew Pruitt was there, so he allowed that to happen. He didn't want to get clipped there. But Angelelli, unfortunately, this is, I'm sure, going to get an unavoidable contact penalty. I mean,
if it's consistent with the other calls today, I think he's going to get one, which is really unfortunate because the car has been tough.
Oh, look at Pruitt hanging it out.
Wayne Taylor will not believe after the day that he's been watching that the U1 team may come out of here with more points than their car.
Here we are, what we're talking about. We're late in the race and we're in GT traffic. Now this is going to play out who wins and who loses. How brave you are and how you can get through this traffic unencumbered is going to make the difference as to who wins or not.
Look at Wayne Taylor. He's got to be thinking, how do these guys keep doing it? We're doing the best we can do. We're doing a great job, but somehow this one team keep rebounding. You never go away.
We hear race controllers looking at that incident closely. They haven't made a decision on that call yet.
At Daytona this year, I had a chat with Memo Gidley, who was driving with the 99 team, and I asked him, you know, tell me something about the balance of power up and down the pit lane. He said, well, you have to start with Ganassi. They have such a big, resource-rich organization. They do everything so well that they naturally have a step on the rest of us.
Well, I'll tell you, Andy Lally really pedaling the Porsche. He's able to match speed with the Ferrari for now.
The one thing that can happen here, if Lally can defend strongly enough for like 2 or 3 laps, will it allow Bill Oberlin, who's currently in third in that BMW, to catch this lead duo? I don't think Lally has the pace, but he's very experienced. He's very aggressive. He doesn't want to let this one get away. Doesn't have the speed of the Ferrari or Bill Oberlin for that matter. Here we see the 57 car many laps down, and there you see Oberlin now in the picture. Can he get into the mix here for his second victory here today?
I guarantee those 2 guys up front don't want him to get up there because there's trouble when he gets there.
They'll be telling the number 63 car, Pierre Guida, be patient, but don't be too patient because the 94 car is coming.
That noise in the background was the hammer coming down on the 10 team. Stop and go plus 60 seconds. There's Wayne Taylor's reaction. He cannot believe it.
In a way, it had to be that way to be consistent. I mean, every other car that's had that same situation has drawn the penalty.
It's a punch in the guts, though, I tell you. I mean, because this car has been awfully strong. They had the lead. They really.
Back to pit now. We got a penalty. No arguing. Pit now.
Leader's off.
Oh, the leader's off.
Right rear, right rear suspension gone on this car. It will not go on. It's broken the right rear. Somebody's helped it along.
See the bodywork separated just behind the wheel.
Yeah, I don't see any marks of damage. Yeah, I do. There's a tire mark right in front of the
second lead here. Can you believe it?
Oh yeah, big
contact with the Audi.
Yep. Look at the right rear. It's bent up inside the wheel.
Yeah. Folded up.
Wow.
And so the wheel itself is gone too.
What a tough break for the young Kiwi.
What a turn of events here over the last couple of laps. 10 cars in for the penalty. This is going to be
game-changing.
60 seconds. This will seem like a day.
To Brian Till.
Yeah, I went to talk to Wayne Taylor a little while ago, and he just looked at me and said Max didn't say anything, and Wayne looked like he was trying to stay really small and out of the way, maybe invisible to the officials. But I looked back down at Mike Shank Racing, and they were not invisible at all to the officials. Mike Shank in the official's face saying, you've got to bring the 10 in. We were assaulted down in turn 1. That's exactly what happened, and now Max Angelelli sitting and waiting on pit road.
It's a long wait, man, 60 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, wow, what an up and down day for many of these competitors. Here we see Pruitt down to the inside. Pitsonia gives it to him, gives him room. He's just turning in as he's entitled to. Angelelli just committed to it and turned him.
And with that, there is your new leader. In fact, there is your current 1-2.
You're not
Alec Gurney.
Can you believe this story?
And Scott Pruitt.
Yeah, I cannot, but yes, I can. How many times have we seen it before? Scott Pruitt could still win this race. I mean, unbelievable.
Wow. Gurney and Fogarty haven't won since 2011. Will this be taken away from them again? Saying so close last year a couple of times. The one that really hurt was at Watkins Glen when Barbosa made that fantastic move to take the lead late in the going. Can Gurney hang on here?
12 minutes is going to be a long, long time with the pressure of Pruitt from behind you. And Pruitt smells blood, man. I mean, there's nobody better.
I believe I'll be seeing Alex Gurney's dad, the legendary Dan Gurney, and his wife Evie at the world-famous Amelia Island Concord Elegance coming up next weekend at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Amelia. It's good to see them. I'm sure they're watching Alex at work here with the 99, willing him to a win.
You know, Alex isn't going to make this easy. No way, but I think Pruitt's car's got more speed.
Wow. Coming up on 11 minutes remaining in this race. Time for another break. You won't miss a thing. We'll be back. The checkered flag will soon wave here at the inaugural Grand Am of the Americas. Back at Circuit of the Americas, you've just seen the end of a great wheel-to-wheel battle for the lead of the GT class. There is Andy Lally, who was leading until Alessandro Perguidi in that red Ferrari muscled him aside.
He did a fantastic job of hanging on to that lead. The Ferrari's been stronger through most of the day. Look at this. You can go side by side through here. This was beautiful racing, but ultimately there was going to be a little bit of a bump here, Dorsey.
Yeah, you can do it. These guys went three side by side. You only have millimeters between those two cars.
And that should not draw a call from the stewards.
No,
I think that was just
won't.
good, hard racing.
That is hard racing. They didn't spin the guy around. I mean, they just bumped and one car got loose, one
Look
did.
at Dial. He's in the mix now. He's gone to the rear bumper of Scott Pruitt, so Pruitt's going to feel the pressure from behind. He was just sizing up Alex Gurney.
And
now he's got problems behind him.
Yeah, traffic in front causes more problems, possibly for Gurney.
It might slow these leaders enough for the 4th place car of Stefan Sarazan in the 8-star number 3 car to join this and make it 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Remember the sun, too.
Let's get more on what took Ryan Dial and the 2 car out of the race. Chris Neville.
Well, those cars up front definitely beaten and battered. The 01 car, you can see the front end bouncing around quite a bit. They're going into the brake zone, but that 2 car, let's not forget the contact that Alex Popoff had with Bert Frizzell early in this race. Right now, Ryan Dial dealing with a car that is pulling really hard to the left, so that steering wheel a bit cockeyed in the 2 car.
This is good stuff right here.
What a great battle among the GT cars as the leaders work their way through.
Got to be careful, though, for Dial. I mean, if he was to turn one of those GT competitors, he'd get a penalty for that, so you got to be patient.
Well, that's the thing. Nobody touched anybody in that battle, including 5 cars.
That's what made it so good. I mean, they all were cognizant of the fact of where the other cars were, but they had to find a way through, and they all made it.
I'll tell you one thing, Gurney wants to hang on. I think he grates on him when we call Scott Pruitt the master. He said, "Master, really? I don't like that mantle that you give that guy," and he needs to hang on here because Pruitt is sizing him up. Looks to the inside, feints a little bit, not close enough.
The 99 team are 2-time series champions, going through a little bit of a drought in terms of victories in recent seasons. Right now, they've got a great chance to end that.
Gurney giving it his all. I mean, he's really flashing, thrashing on that car. Like I say, Scott probably got a faster car right now, but getting up there and getting by, we always say, 2 different things.
He knows one curb he's not going to use, though.
Yeah, exactly, he does.
Montreal 2011, last time the Gainsco team, the Red Dragon, hit victory lane. But Pruitt, you could tell in that interview before he got in the car, he's relishing this race circuit. He said it's so technical, and when you've been doing the game as long as he has, this is a real challenge here at COTA.
Dial not out of this either. I mean, that's another guy. He's a bulldog. He can get up there and mix this thing up.
Remember all of the engine changes since Daytona. Well, what do we have right now? 3 different engine manufacturers running 1, 2, 3, separated by less than a second and a half. The Porpoisen there on the
doing that all day
on the 01 car. I'm not sure if they just run a lot of rebound in their shock setup, Dorsey, but it really kind of, when it gets into those brake zones, it really ain't sure if it's an aero thing.
Yeah, Bob talked about it earlier. It looks like it's banging the splitter off the road and then rebounding up into the air. It's worse after the crash, though, for sure. After they knocked the nose off, it's gotten much worse.
6 minutes to go. 3 laps to go at the end of this one. Can they keep it clean? How hard will Gurney defend? Will he be able to run those big wide entry points with the remainder of these 3 laps?
Look at this. A lot of tension in those eyes, let me tell you what. Conditions couldn't be worse. You can barely see out there right now, and some of the critical corners where you can want to make a pass, but you can't really tell. You can't see if the car's there. How close am I?
Fogarty said that his car had pretty heavy downforce, but down this straightaway seems pretty even. We know the Ganassi boys run a lot of medium downforce setup on. I'm not sure about Dial's car, but wasn't a lot to be gained between any of those guys down the straightaway at that point.
Well, I said before, it's going to be traffic that plays out to who wins or who loses this race. I still stand by that.
Bob Stallings owns the team. 7, 8 seasons in the sport now.
Traffic up ahead.
Yep.
Where do you hit them? Does it hurt you? Does it give an edge to your competitor? Gurney's got to be careful. Pruitt's going to get a good run here. This is going to be a run. There's going to be a wide open braking zone down in here. When does Pruitt pull the trigger? When does he go for the lead?
I think right now, Gurney on the defense is not going to leave any open opportunity there.
So hard in the sunlight, Dorsey. It'd be so easy to make a mistake. Miss your braking point a little bit. Miss your turning point and open the door.
Or just miss that small millimeter difference that you need to know where that other car is. You got to cut it close. You can't be 2 inches away. You got to be right on the money.
If you've got something for the car ahead of you, why wait? Why not just do it now and then try to hold him off?
I think
we've
he's
got
going
4 minutes. I mean, not got much time to go. I mean, right now, if you had any opportunity, you would take it. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Gurney really good there. Looks like he's got good mechanical grip through that previous corner over Pruitt. He gaps him quite a bit, actually.
Got a great run through there, did Gurney.
struggling with that damaged race car a little bit. Can he come back at him?
4 minutes to go.
Look at this gaggle up ahead. They're going to hit these guys soon.
That's not good. Dial can really play a pivotal point in this deal if he could just be a little bit more aggressive, get up there. You look at John Fogerty, looking at his teammate. Can we win this thing? He wants to bad, let me tell you.
This will be an emotional win for these guys. They have really taken it hard. They've come so close. Haven't always had the fastest car.
Go, baby. Keep going. Dig and dig.
That's what you want. Encouragement right now, encouragement. Throw it up the inside. Could be contact.
The lead, little bit of a rub, but nobody damaged, it appears.
Listen to this, guys. We're here in the 63 car. You know that rub we saw with the Lally car, the 44 car? He's going to get a stop on plus 60. So the leader in GT is going to be taken out of the lead by a penalty.
That is horrible. And it wasn't a spin either. That time was just a rub.
That'll give the GT class lead to Bill Auberlen, who's already got 1 race victory.
That means
today.
they're not allowing contact of any sort, because that wasn't a hit and spin and run. That was just a bump.
It was a rub, just like what we saw between Pruitt and Gurney a moment ago.
Could it be a monumental day for Turner Motorsports? Paul Dall'Anna and Bill Auberlen. Will they now get their second win on the day for the second time in history? Pruitt now. Will he? Is he just sitting there? Is he going to take? Does he know where he's going to do it on Gurney and just surprise him, Dorsey?
I think he's thinking about it right now. Now look at DL. DL's going to play a part in this too. Now Pruitt's got to look in the mirror and he's got to watch what's going on from behind.
Team manager, yeah, for Scuderia Corsa. Cannot believe what he's being told.
Look at this. Pruitt's defending down to the inside. DL tries to set him up. Can he do an over and under here? Can he get the power down on Scott Pruitt?
He's going to try.
Side by side.
He's alongside now.
Pruitt's tough. There's a GT car up ahead. What happens next? Side by side. Dial looking for him. Pruitt defends. Nice job there. Oh, stacking it up. This has given Gurney a bit of a breather.
He's hung up behind the Ferrari.
Oh, he's not going to get grip there. Dial's going to get the traction on Pruitt.
Yeah,
on the outside.
Pinned by him. GT Ferrari.
Changes the whole game plan now. Pruitt's back to third.
What a chess match there between the GT traffic, Scott Pruitt and Ryan Dial. And look at the gap that Dial has got. Pruitt is out of the mix, I think, for the win now. Can DL chase down Gurney with 1 lap to go?
I doubt it. That gave Gurney all he needed. He was clear of that whole fracas back there.
What a piece of racecraft by Ryan Dial.
I mean, he's going to have to pull in 2 or 3 car lengths, 4 car lengths, and half a lap.
One more.
White flag waves, 1 lap to go for Alex Gurney and co-driver John Fogerty.
But Gurney has a lot of GT cars to contend with, including that car, Bill Auberlen, which is now leading GT.
Can you believe it? Woohoo! Remember that spin we saw Paul Dall'Anna earlier in the race? They're going to bounce back and get a victory.
What a day at the Circuit of the Americas.
These guys aren't going to be easy to pass as GT cars, because that is the win in GT.
Oh, and there's Dial right there with Gurney.
He's going to put it all on the line. He really is. There's an opening, and
he's coming.
He's coming hard. He's going to be really close down into this brake zone. There's GT traffic up ahead. The leader in GT. Here comes DL to the inside.
Not enough yet, but his intention's known.
There's the hairpin onto the 3/4 mile back straightaway for the final time.
DL has really got the dander up now. He's got a lot of adrenaline pumping. I hope Gurney knows what's coming.
There's one thing to hit your marks normally, then into this sunshine, and then also the setting sun, should I say, and then when you're trying to defend on a different line. There's opportunities here through these final few turns. We've seen it today. Guys will take a chance. Will DL put it all on the line, or is he thinking points? How bad does he want to win?
Gurney's got to be smart. Don't leave that hole. Do not leave it.
That's the spot. That's the spot. Gurney may be able to hold on from here. That was the opening, that turn, I think. But DL's right there.
Here's that fast 3 apex right-hander. Slightly downhill. Very tricky corner coming up.
Gurney is hooked up. He gaps him. That was critical.
That was a good run around the outside by Gurney. DL on the inside running and didn't have as much speed. He carried the speed.
1 corner to go. 1 final corner. And Alex Gurney brings the Gainesco 99 Red Dragon onto the straightaway and ends a 2-year drought with the inaugural victory at Circuit of the Americas.
Brilliant job by Alex Gurney. Withstood the pressure perfectly. The car was hooked up. That was a great job by that whole team. They called the right strategy by pitting him before the full course yellow. Leapfrog to the front, and Alex hung on.
Hometown team does it. Wow.
John Fogerty started it. Alex Gurney finished
Look
it.
at this. Everybody going up to Alex to give him the high five. He drove a heck of a race, guys.
That was fantastic. That was absolutely brilliant. And Billy Oberlin, what a day for Turner Motorsports. A double victory.
After all of the heartbreak they suffered a month ago at Daytona, with one car totaled in practice and a very difficult 24 hours. And here they come to Circuit of the Americas and win both the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge and the Rolex Sports Car GT class. Amazing. Speed's coverage of the Rolex Sports Car Series is presented by Rolex and brought to you in part by Continental Tire. Innovative technology, driving confidence. At the end of a long day at Circuit of the Americas and an absolutely amazing finish in the Grand Am of the Americas, here are the unofficial results in Daytona Prototype.
Just a brilliant performance there by Alex Gurney, holding on under extreme pressure. Great call by the team to get that track position. Dial, what a drive, rebounding from the early damage. And then Pruitt, can you imagine those guys on the podium after the day they had, Dorsey?
Up on top of the GT standing, Bill Arbelin, Paul Dalla did a great job, got that Turner BMW up to the front. We didn't see that one coming either, but he made it to the finish.
Time for our Royal Purple Outperformer of the race. And for that, we will choose the number 2 car from Starworks Autosport, Alex Popov and Ryan Dial, who recovered from early contact and raced their way back to a brilliant second-place finish. We'll take another break and come back with interviews and champagne. Stay with us. Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, where the shadows continue to grow, but that won't dampen the celebration down in Victory Lane. Let's meet our Daytona Prototype winners with Chris Neville.
Yeah, Alex Gurney, John Fogerty down here, winless in 2012, but they get it in round 2. And I think every body panel on the 99 car is beaten and banged today. But Alex, you really had your hands full. No radio contact with the team, and you had Scott Pruitt, and it was Ryan Dial right behind you there at the end, and you kept him off.
Yeah, I mean, what a day. Just a really tough battle with those guys, you know, pushing hard to stay in front the whole time. What a day. I mean, we got all the Gainesville guys here. It's our home race, and you know, we've been trying so hard, didn't get a win last year, and this feels so good. I mean, we just so happy for everybody on the team, and what a day.
John, real nail biter. You had to watch it play out, and you got a lot of support here from Gainesville.
Oh, absolutely. Alex did I mean, come on, give it to him. He did a really good job, man. That was it was a nail biter, and he held on and fought, and that's what it takes to win these races. So great to do it in front of the Gainesville crowd.
Yeah, real important weekend for this team. Brian?
Paul Dalla, Bill Arbelin take the win in GT, and I spoke to the Magnus guys a little before the end of the race. They said, we're not going to win this thing. We don't have anything for the Ferrari, and we don't have anything for Bill Arbelin. He's going to win this thing. I don't think you were that positive, were you?
No, I mean, things kind of went the wrong way early on, and we persevered. They short-filled us to get us out in front of the leader. Then we just held, got the yellow flag, got back on the lead lap, put our head down, and did what we do at Turner. We raced hard. This comes from the testing we did here last year. This car was flawless. It went from the beginning to end, strong as a rock. Paul's our leader. Thanks to Paul for always kind of leading the way. And wow, twice in a day. Andy's mad. I apologize if I did anything wrong. I don't race like that, and I know he doesn't either.
Congratulations on the win. Chris?
Well, Spencer Pompelli and Dr. Jim Norman come away with a win in GX. And Jim, you did most of the driving today. Spencer only did about 10 laps today, but really a great effort by the team.
Well, the team was great. I also have Jeff Mosing here as he did the second most number of laps. The team was great, and the Mazda guys, my hands off to them. They're really putting together a great program, and they're really coming on strong. It was pretty tough there for a while. They're coming along really well.
Yeah, the Porsches get the 2 first victories of the year in GX, but this Mazda program, as soon as they continue to develop this car, expect it in Victory Lane.
Yeah, congratulations to them and to Jeff Mosing, local Austin driver who did well and picks up the victory in the GX class. Well, quite an afternoon. We'll tell you right now, we meant it when we said that the results were unofficial. We understand they're still talking about the GT class victory, so be sure to check with Speed.com and Speed Center with Adam Alexander for the final results when they are issued. deep breath. Final thoughts, Calvin
Well,
Fish?
the circuit didn't disappoint, Bob. I mean, everyone was so excited to be here. Dorsey, the racetrack is fun to drive, but it's even better to race. We saw that today. So many overtaking opportunities, just great action all day long.
You know, fantastic racetrack like this, you get a fantastic race. All the drivers, all the fans, us, we were up on our game. It was great. The energy is huge here.
We hope you've enjoyed the inaugural Grand Am of the Americas from the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. For Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Brian Till, and Chris Neville, I'm Bob Varsha. You won't want to miss the highlights of this race, and we'll see you for round 3 of the Rolex Sports Car Series from Barber Motorsports Park in Alabama come April. For now, so long from Austin, Texas.